have done so far goes against the balance of this world. So, stop disrupting the natural order. Baek Un Ha heard this and was already getting annoyed. What is this old man rambling about? Under the blood-red moonlight, she stood tall and commanded her undead army. Hey, you all know what to do, right? Baek Un Ha's face was filled with an excitement that shouldn't exist on such a tense battlefield. Wipe them out. Sensing something was wrong, Makazov hurriedly waved his hand to order his troops. All forces, attack. In a split second, his army of heroes charged headlong toward the Undead Legion, who were fiercely in bloodlust mode. These entities, devoid of any fear of death, flung themselves at their foolish opponents. The undead had long crossed the boundary between life and death, so they knew nothing of fear. They simply revealed their most terrifying forms. Unlike the mages, who were visibly trembling with fear, you bastards. The undead, following orders, effortlessly sent their opponents to their graves without a shred of mercy. Yet, they wouldn't truly die even if destroyed, because the undead are just soulless puppets obeying their master's commands. They are death itself, walking among the living. Suddenly, an undead archer seized a momentary lapse in attention to fire a special poisoned arrow. The arrow streaked across the brutal battlefield, quickly sealing the fate of this meaningless fight. A few minutes later, two glowing red eyes flickered in the air. The undead mage quickly appeared, creating a small shockwave to gather the dark mana around the fallen, lifting them high. Baek Un Ha, the one who controlled these undead at will, the commander of the Undead Legion, the Necromancer, spoke calmly to herself. Is this really all the intact corpses you have? She asked excitedly, slowly summoning more undead. With just a simple incantation, the broken bodies of the unfortunate mages began to twist in a terrifying display. Just moments later, all moisture was drained from their faces, leaving them with a monstrous, demonic appearance. The sight left the remaining survivors speechless with terror. Under their panicked gazes, Baek Un Ha's new mage battalion quickly joined the fray. Unlike the anxiety-ridden mages on the opposing side, she excitedly patted the shoulders of her new recruits. So, this is the force led by the Archmage Makazov? You actually made some pretty high-quality undead. One panicked mage raised his staff to attack first, but as he died, his powerful spell easily triggered a massive explosion in the distance. Surprisingly, that attack was easily blocked by Baek Un Ha, because she is the one known as the sovereign of the Underworld and the most powerful necromancer, Baek Un Ha. She took a breath and ordered her entire army to attack. Behind her, all the undead simultaneously unleashed their magic, making the supposedly strongest mages of the opposing faction shudder in absolute terror. Even at this moment, Makazov couldn't hide his panic, his voice trembling. What the hell is this? Bolts of dark mana-infused energy quickly curved and slammed downward, following the laws of gravity. This allowed Baek Un Ha's long-range attack to easily inflict damage on the weak, scattered remnants. Makazov stood there, listening to the agonizing screams of his men. Save me. He let out a rare display of fear, forgetting even to breathe. Moments later, the hollow corpses of the mages lay scattered across the cold ground. Even their staves, crafted from the strongest materials, were shattered to pieces. Yet, perhaps due to Baek Un Ha's prior orders, only Makazov remained alive after that horrific assault. She walked slowly forward, speaking softly. Makazov, it's just you left now. Do you still intend to resist? Her mocking tone made him panic and stammer. This is impossible. How can a mere human possess such immense power? As soon as Makazov finished speaking, Baek Un Ha created a special magic circle to summon Father John to this desolate land. A few seconds later, his body appeared, ready to wreak havoc in this blood-soaked space. Baek Un Ha spoke calmly, pointing at her opponent, the ferryman. Father John, you are the most perfect person to see him off to his final resting place. I assume you show me everything you've got. Surprisingly, Makazov flew into a rage, screaming, you can even control creatures from the Underworld. You have far exceeded the limits of a human. That power was never meant for humans. He didn't forget to cast a spell in a desperate attempt to save his life. Stop disrupting the natural order of this world. Yet, Father John wasn't afraid. He just grabbed his scythe and lunged forward. He easily dodged every single mana-based attack from his opponent. In just a few short seconds, Father John was right in front of Makazov, causing the old man to frantically raise his orb of magic. You bastard! Makazov growled in anger. How dare you? Father John didn't hesitate and swung his scythe in a clean, sharp arc. That effortless movement quickly sent his opponent to eternity in an instant. Watching Makazov's pathetic end, Baek Un Ha chuckled to herself. Exceeded human limits. Of course I have. You've killed me countless times yourself. So, what are you rambling about? Makazov, Baek Un Ha slowly leaned down to speak to the fallen man. So this is the end of the great Archmage Makazov, beheaded. If you had just handed over that item sooner, this wouldn't have happened. You brought this upon yourself. Suddenly, she spotted something and her red eyes lit up. Baek Un Ha hurriedly grabbed the necklace from him and whispered to herself. Found it. The goddess's tear. My wish of so many years has finally appeared. She nearly forgot to breathe. She had actually done it. It had been nearly 100 years since she fell to this strange planet, Thibi. After surviving hundreds of crises and deaths, after even transcending death itself, the thing she had been chasing for so long was finally Baek Un Ha suddenly stood up and lowered her voice. Chezia, who had been watching as a spectator for a long time, was forced to speak up. Yes, the goddess of harmony excitedly stepped out, speaking like a beautiful lead actress in a drama. Did you call for me? Un Ha asked with a strange sense of excitement. Once I collect this, I can finally go home, right? To make sure he understood, she quickly emphasized the phrase back to earth, making Chezia clap in confusion. Yes, of course. Her unusual behavior left Un Ha visibly baffled. Why are you grinning like that again? Are you happy I'm leaving? She asked, her tone dripping with fake sweetness. No, I'm just happy that you finally reached your goal. Where had her mind wandered off to? This girl, Chezia, was a demigod, or rather, a false deity. He figured he met her about 30 years after getting stuck here. At first, she acted very dignified and godlike, but he had stripped away her defenses, and now she was basically his lackey. Thinking back, she had caused him all sorts of trouble over the years. Maybe he should teach her one last lesson before leaving. As that thought crossed his mind, Un Ha tuned out her nonsense. Anyway, shouldn't we start now? Your energy is so overwhelming that the goddess's tears might get tainted. That sarcastic remark made her frown and fall silent for a few seconds. Before replying vaguely, I knew it. He didn't know how much time had passed. Chezia was setting up the formation, stumbling over her own words. Now that I have the magic core, the teleportation should go smoothly. As I said, there might be side effects. There are records of dimension rulers losing their powers after interdimensional travel. I warned you, so don't come back here and take your anger out on me later. Un Ha, annoyed by her stalling, couldn't help but shout. How many times do I have to say it? I know. After venting his anger, he put his hands on his hips and sighed. A moment later, Un Ha listened quietly as Chezia chanted the activation spell, his mind racing with anticipation. Finally, he was going home. He had been there for over 100 years. Had the same amount of time passed on Earth? If so, what about his younger sister? The memory of his dear sister made Un Ha grit his teeth. A few seconds later, he raised his voice. Hey, Chezia, catching the other off guard. Yes? She heard a surprisingly soft voice from Un Ha. Thank you. Chezia was genuinely puzzled. Under her confused gaze, Un Ha slowly recalled the past. When you first told me there was a way to go home, I really thought you were just talking nonsense to save your life. But regardless, I'm actually going back now. You're a demigod, so try not to get beaten up wherever you go. Take care. The warmth in Un Ha's eyes as he left that chaotic world made Chezia stutter. If you say things like that, at the very last minute, I'm going to start feeling a little guilty about all the trouble I caused you. Chezia excitedly looked at the distorted formation she had created and couldn't help but smile happily. If your personality is going to be that bad, at least your appearance should be a bit cuter, right? Meanwhile, having gone through the teleportation, Un Ha landed in a filthy dump. He sat up, annoyed, and muttered, Damn it, what is this? A pile of trash? She could have at least dropped me off somewhere decent. Suddenly, Un Ha froze at the sight before him. A familiar dark alley made him stand still. This was Un Ha tried to suppress his excitement as he stepped out of the disgusting trash heap. The familiar asphalt, bright signs, honking cars, glass skyscrapers, and the busy crowd. The reality of it all made him overflow with joy. I'm back on Earth. Thank goodness. It doesn't look that different from when I left. First thing first, I want a nice, cold can of cola. He caught a glimpse of himself in a storefront window, which made his expression stiffen in confusion. Huh? He quickly tapped the glass, touching his own reflection. What is this? Don't tell me this is me. Chezia said there might be side effects like losing power, but she didn't say I'd get younger. His panicked thoughts vanished when he stumbled forward as someone opened the glass door. He fell flat on the ground in front of Namshik and his colleagues. Oh, sorry, kid. Are you okay? That caring tone made him feel slightly flustered. Kid? How dare you treat the Underworld king like a child? Suddenly, something washed over him, leaving him breathless. A sudden wave of discomfort made Un Ha unable to speak. Huh? What's happening? What's going on with me? I feel so sick all of a sudden. Even as the people around him whispered, Silver hair? Is he a foreigner? So cute. He couldn't think straight. Everyone was staring at him, and just locking eyes with them felt like Un Ha watched intently as Namshik reached out. Can you stand up? His body trembled uncontrollably. It felt like something inside him was being suppressed so hard he couldn't breathe. And it kept happening whether he wanted it to or not. Nam Shik, who lacked patience, raised his voice. Hey, are you okay? Only for the other side to hear a pained groan from his throat. Un Ha didn't realize his strange appearance. He was too busy feeling the bizarre things happening within his body, wondering, what the hell happened to me? Earth. 10 years ago, the day of the cataclysm when dungeon gates and monsters suddenly appeared, Baek Un Ha's parents died, crushed under the rubble of a building destroyed by a monster, and his older sister, Baek Un Ha, at the very moment she was attacked by a monster, was enveloped in a teleportation light and vanished right in front of Baek Un Ha. Back to reality, a zombie raised its fist to attack the soldiers, causing the vanguard to panic. The mage squad poured all their firepower onto it. The mages hurriedly cast their spells in unison. In a brief moment, a series of explosions rocked the monster, boosting everyone's morale. It's working. This is our chance. Upon hearing that, Baek Un Ha leaped onto the monster's massive head. Baek Un Ha quickly thrust his spear toward its head. With iron-willed determination and agility that surpassed any human, he effortlessly delivered the finishing blow to the zombie. Those who awakened and were chosen by the system after the day of the upheaval are called hunters, and their purpose is to exterminate monsters that harm humans, like that zombie. Now, those hunters are fighting against dungeons and monsters, and standing out among them is Baek Un Ha, an A-rank hunter. After the sweep, the team leader cleared his throat and said, "Everyone worked hard exploring the dungeon today. We'll make sure to submit the exploration report to the higher-ups." Baek Un Ha was listening intently to him when he was startled by a notification on his phone. A police station? He hurriedly answered the call. "Hello?" "Yes." As the team leader spoke to the person on the other end, Baek Un Ha, "You worked hard today." So before he could finish, he was cut off by a piercing scream from the other end. What? What was that?" Baek Un Ha was so flustered he stammered. My sister." A while later, he spoke in confusion at the police station. "Are you saying this child actually claims to be my sister?" The officer was also visibly bewildered by the absurdity unfolding before them. "That's right. That's exactly what she says." "Hunter Baek Un Ha, we already have all your personal information." "Hunter." But he quickly shut his mouth to give him time to look at Baek Un Ha, who was curled up on the bench. Under their deeply puzzled gazes, she panted and muttered to herself, "I shall turn you into a skeleton. How dare you stand before the sovereign of the Underworld?" At the same time, Baek Un Ha couldn't help but frown at her gloomy demeanor. At first, he thought someone was playing a prank, because the sister in his memories wasn't a small child like this. But for him, having missed his family for so long, this felt like grasping at a life-saving straw. After an unknown amount of time, the doctor's gentle voice echoed through the hospital walls. "The test results are in. It's truly astonishing. The genetic markers show a 99.9% match with the records of Baek Un Ha stored in our hospital. That means, regardless of her appearance, she is indeed the same person." The unexpected result left Baek Un Ha stunned. Is it really true? That fact made him so happy that he accidentally overlooked his sister's skittish behavior. Is she really Baek Un Ha? Everything has turned out this way. I have no choice but to believe it. I don't know why her appearance changed like this, but it seems the reason for her personality becoming this way is post-traumatic stress disorder, which is something those who return often encounter. Her life in the other world must have been exhausting. The doctor, hearing Baek Un Ha's brilliant deduction, shyly corrected him. "That's not it. It seems she has hypnotized herself into believing she is the sovereign of the underworld to protect her mind in an extreme situation. Her anthropophobia is at a high level, and she often rambles nonsense. She is quite unstable, so as her guardian, please take good care of her while you're with her." Those well-meaning reminders left Baek Un Ha stunned for a moment on the street, even with his sister right beside him. Taking advantage of her not paying attention, Baek Un Ha quickly wiped away the tears of happiness that had just fallen. At least she had returned. The sister I had been separated from for 10 years. I made a resolution in that moment. He nervously spoke with words he hadn't used in a long time. Baek Un Ha. When she looked up in confusion, Baek Un Ha smiled excitedly. "It's all okay now. Let's go home." And he let his heart wander freely. "From now on, I will protect her." 1 year later, Baek Un Ha's shout echoed throughout the high-rise building early in the morning. "Sister, did you stay up all night gaming again? That's not healthy. Please, go to sleep on time. And if you're just going to stay home, you should at least move around a bit." Baek Un Ha, hearing her tired groan, couldn't help but sigh and mutter, "I have a guild meeting today, so when you wake up, remember to eat the food I left in the fridge." Baek Un Ha curled up in her blanket and let out a soft hum in her throat. She listened irritably to his caring advice. "And we'll go out for dinner later. So, bathe properly before I get back." Unless you want me to force you into the bath again, he muttered, unable to help but sigh. Yeah, I know. The conversation ended abruptly as Baek Un Ha gave up with a weary sigh. He carried the frustration in his heart as he stepped out of the house slowly. I'm off, then. The noisy slamming of the door was finally enough to wake Baek Un Ha. She's starting to look more and more like Mom, but she just lay in the same spot from 8:45 until nearly 1 in the afternoon. Finally, Baek Un Ha wearily crawled out from under the blanket. It's so bright. It had been a year since she returned to Earth, and I had become a true homebody. Baek Un Ha stretched enthusiastically to recharge. But just seconds later, she muttered to herself in boredom. I'm so sleepy. Baek Un Ha's daily routine these days is very simple. 1. Eat a late lunch with the food Baek Un Ha prepared and watch YouTube. This is what we call stacking slashes. She didn't just watch the videos quietly, she commented on them while eating too. What a trash play. 2. After eating, Baek Un Ha would get completely absorbed in ranking matches as if her life depended on it. Her beautiful fingers clicked the mouse repeatedly. She had just heard a notification sound on the screen. Glory will be with us, she shouted, unable to hold back her temper. Why would you use your ultimate like that? And then, when the final result appeared on the computer, screen saying defeat, Baek Un Ha let out a frustrated, incoherent roar. She began messaging her nameless teammates to start an argument. Why did you drop your ultimate there for no reason? Calm down, man. You're the only one playing the meta from 10 years ago. It makes no sense. So what do you want me to do now? Seriously, the gameplay reeks of a conservative old man. Baek Un Ha angrily thought about punching her monitor to vent. Who are you calling conservative? It's unexpected that the powerful Necromancer of the past now uses the traits of a loser. She's only good at imagining all sorts of sabotage but doesn't have the guts to actually do it. Anyway, after that losing game, she stared blankly at the soda can in her hand, feeling thirsty for no reason because she was so furious. Seriously, what? Did I finish it all? Baek Un Ha looked at the bright sky outside, staying silent for a few seconds before muttering, I really hate having to do this. I don't know how much time had passed, but Du Hook Tran Truong spoke up out of habit when he heard the familiar chime. Welcome. He couldn't hide his surprise, gasping slightly when he saw the customer who had just walked in. Un Ha wandered into the convenience store, following the routine she had built up over time. Dad, I'm heading to the convenience store since we're out of cola. Her core essential, a task of extreme difficulty for her. Du Hook stared blankly at her bizarre behavior, unable to help but sigh. The cola-stealing caterpillar was back again. No matter how many times he saw it, he couldn't get used to it. After getting through that arduous ordeal, Un Ha plopped down onto her comfortable gaming chair, feeling overjoyed. I did it. I really thought I was going to throw up back there. At least now, she was somehow able to go out and buy things on her own. Suddenly, a loud notification echoed through the house, making her jump. Delivery here. Un Ha pressed her ear tightly against the door, listening intently to the delivery person's footsteps fading away. Only after all sound had ceased did she slowly open the door to step out. I was so absorbed in my game that I forgot I had food delivered. Thankfully, in this day and age, there was a prepayment feature. This led to the fourth habit of Baek Un Ha, eating delivery food while watching live streams. Hello everyone, it's Song Ha here. She excitedly took a huge bite of chicken and happily praised it. This tastes damn good. A while later, Un Ha let out a loud, satisfied belch, feeling completely stuffed. After going through those 4 daily repetitive actions, the smile instantly faded from her face as she began to dwell on her own thoughts. A year had passed since she started wasting her life like this, losing all her power and even becoming a shut-in with social anxiety. This was a natural outcome. Of course, it wasn't that she had just sat around doing nothing from the very beginning. Because among those who returned, some had used the full power they accumulated in the other world to climb straight to the ranks of high-level hunters. Hearing those stories, she felt she had potential too, so she tried her best. Her power was unique, and since she had mapped out several secret plans, she believed she would quickly regain her original strength, but that was a miscalculation. Including necromancy, none of the methods yielded any results. It was as if it had been an impossible mission from the start. Every possible scenario failed to work according to Un Ha's plans. Eventually, just 1 month after returning to Earth, she gave up on everything. That memory full of despair made Un Ha let out a frustrated sigh. Of course, I could try that awakening thing. But awakened people made up less than 0.1% of the entire human population. Suddenly, an image flashed before her eyes, and her gaze brightened. It was a new article suggested on her device. Every day, A-rank hunter Baek Un Ha delivers an excellent performance in the Bone middle grade dungeon. Most experts point to Baek Un Ha as the next hunter to reach S rank. Baek Un Ha couldn't help but mutter to herself, Baek Un Ha is in the news again. She's a total celebrity. Pride quickly swelled within her small frame. Her sister was one of fewer than 100 A-rank hunters in the whole country, and with her unparalleled achievements, her name was mentioned everywhere. The light of Korea. Uncle, I want to grow up to be like Baek Un Ha. I only drink this soda these days because of Baek Un Ha. For real. I think I've already stocked up 10 cases. Recently, she hadn't just been on the news, she was even doing commercials. She was effectively a star, a true celebrity. Of course, thanks to Baek Un Ha's reputation and status, Baek Un Ha could live like a useless person who just spent her sister's money. Feed me. The moment that thought crossed her mind, she angrily slammed her hand on the table, her round face twisted in deep self-loathing. This aimless, lazy lifestyle ends today. Baek Un Ha suddenly pulled out a strange stone. She stared at it for a long time before muttering to herself, I've collected enough materials. Shall we start slowly? After tinkering and setting everything up, Un Ha felt nervous and full of thoughts. I recently found a clue to regain my power. It's true that I've lived recklessly and given up on everything, but this low-level magic stone has the ability to store power. It's not mine, but it contains death energy. A thought suddenly flashed through her mind. Even if I have completely lost my power, I still possess the knowledge of necromancy. So, if it's just a matter of applying someone else's power, wouldn't I be able to use necromancy even in my current state? She thought so. Thanks to that deep analytical ability, Un Ha held onto a glimmer of hope and spoke seriously. All right, let's do this. She tried to focus, channeling her inner strength to transfer the energy from the magic stone into herself to perform the spell on the object lying under the black cloth. Un Ha's eyes caught something moving, making her more excited than ever. There's a reaction. Currently, I can't feel the death energy, but this is something I've done thousands of times. By intuition, I can tell the magic is being cast correctly. Suddenly, a massive surge of energy appeared, making the smile on Un Ha's face vanish, forcing her brain to focus on controlling the murky spiritual energy before her. But just seconds later, Un Ha couldn't hold that power and was thrown backward. This led to the chaotic spiritual energy exploding almost immediately. Un Ha waited for the toxic smoke to clear before awkwardly speaking up. Crap, I should have done this outside. Finished. A wave of nervous anticipation quickly rose, causing her to try to peer through the thick white smoke. A new image appeared, and Un Ha couldn't help but smile. She excitedly whispered into the dim, dark space. Success. Now, rise. The deceased returned from the afterlife, fueled by the resentment of being disposed of by humans. Stand tall on your own 2 feet. Headless Knight, Knight Dula Lahan. Under the intense call from the former commander of the Undead Legion, the bony knight Dula Lahan appeared quite majestically. It even let out a sound to show its authenticity. Baek Un Ha tried to contain her excitement and began the task of testing the other's understanding. Right hand. Dula Lahan didn't fall short of expectations and immediately reached out. Good. Seeing she still wanted to test the left hand, it gently followed her request with an even more solemn attitude. Click, click. The short test quickly gave Un Ha joy beyond expectations. She was so happy that she jumped for joy. It worked. Finally, I can use necromancy again. She excitedly lifted Lahan up to dance around with her. Go on. Announced the return of the Lord of the Underworld. She chuckled. That's right. That's right. You're happy too, right? She made the skeleton click in response, even though it had no idea what was going on. Behind that joyful exterior, Ha's mind had been racing for a while. The experiment she had only theorized about before had finally succeeded. This small breakthrough was all thanks to someone. Among the awakened in South Korea, necromancers were incredibly rare. Because of that, there was nowhere to gather death energy, so she hadn't even tried performing any necromancy experiments. Then, one day, while watching a live stream, she stumbled upon a player named Song Ha, a rookie necromancer and a streamer just starting out who was excitedly talking to her viewers. Hello everyone. I promised you all I'd show you my archer shooting some arrows today, remember? Un Ha still clearly remembered the audience's excitement back then. Hey, why does that thing look so weak? Hurry up and show us. This is hilarious. Since she was also a necromancer just like her, Un Ha decided to keep watching the stream. Alright, now use that rubber bow and shoot the apple on my head. Unexpectedly, that serious command only resulted in the zombie firing an arrow without even aiming. This led to the projectile hitting Song Ha right on her fair forehead, causing her to lose her mind and scream at the top of her lungs. Hey, you damn thing. You were clearly doing great during practice. The commenters, meanwhile, had a good laugh. What the hell was that? The skeleton guy said he's out of mana. So trash. With skills like that, you'll just be a burden everywhere you go. Under the harsh comments from the audience, Ha still shyly defended her weak-willed zombie. We're still in the middle of training, so won't it improve soon? She had incredible mental fortitude and easily brushed off the malicious comments, Plus, she was a cute, talented rookie. Everything started when Un Ha couldn't stand it anymore and decided to give her some advice. That's not how you do it. Ha had just taken the harmless bow off her head and was staring blankly at her phone screen. While she was busy wondering, who the hell is this? Un Ha had already sent a weird comment that drowned out all the others. That's not how you do it. Try smearing animal blood on the materials and bury them in a swamp where there's no sunlight. Then, infuse death energy into it steadily for 3 days, and it will be much better than what you just did. I'm telling you this because you look like you have talent. It was advice she could have easily ignored. But Song Ha followed it exactly, and a few days later, she was able to summon a much sturdier skeleton. See, doesn't it look way scarier now? Red Hood donated 5,000 won along with a video showing the skeleton from the first day to now. I'm banning this person for 5 minutes. Baek Un Ha might lack strength, but she could share all the knowledge about necromancy the other girl needed, and Song Ha was very interested in her insights. Ha eventually became her student and constantly asked for feedback. Draw a magic circle, carve this into it, and fill the grave with death energy. It will be very convenient for creating other summons. I did exactly what you said, Master, and now we're practicing. Their intelligence is too low for that training method. And while helping her, an opportunity finally came to Un Ha, who suddenly sent a message. I feel a bit bad for always receiving help from you, Master. Is there anything you need? Un Ha stared at that message for a long time. What I need? No. It's not like I'm expecting anything in return. I'm just bored. But a new thought popped into her head, and she hurriedly replied, in that case, could you send me a few magic stones? The kind that are already filled with death energy. Returning to reality, Un Ha looked at the remaining magic stone in her hand and gently tucked it away into a secret space in the air. So, once the death energy runs out, the summoning will end as well. But I still have a few magic stones left, so that's fine. Regardless, today's experiment was a huge success, and now she could finally tell Seo Ha that she could provide for herself like a normal person. She quickly imagined the day she could proudly say to her younger sister, "From now on, you can count on me," while seeing Baek Seo Ha's proud, tearful face. Sister. Un Ha heard footsteps and excitedly opened the door. Baek Seo Ha, you're home? Listen, something important happened today. Before she could finish her sentence, she was struck dumb by her sister's angry expression, which looked scarier than a demon. Baek Seo Ha slowly started scolding her. You still haven't showered, have you? What did I tell you this morning before I left? And what is that pile of stuff behind you? When Un Ha tried to muster the courage to reply, Seo Ha, but I have a reason. Her sister gently brushed off every excuse to continue accusing her. Actually, I already know you ordered takeout again. I just need to check the card transaction history and I'll know. You also bought a bunch of Coca-Cola, right? Baek Seo Ha grabbed her sister by the collar and dragged her out mercilessly. I told you to drink cola in moderation. Look at how many cans are here. And I told you in advance that we were going out to eat today, yet you dared to order fried chicken. Looking at that unwashed face of yours, I know you had no intention of going out with me. Get in the bathroom right now. Dragged away like that, Un Ha could only burst into tears to explain herself. I'm sorry, I'm truly sorry. But there's a reason for everything. She thought gloomily to herself. This is not how it was supposed to go. After that scolding, food delivery was temporarily banned for a while. A few days later, while it was still broad daylight, Un Ha broke into a cold sweat as she looked at her surroundings. This is the worst, absolutely the worst. The fact that people were walking back and forth made her so nervous she couldn't breathe. She remembered her sister's last words. There's a large-scale raid planned, so I'll be away for 4 or 5 days. This led her to not be able to hide her frustration and she started shouting loudly. Of all times, my mouse had to break right when Seo Ha went on a long business trip. If I had known, I would have used it more carefully. I could order one online or wait for Baek Seo Ha to return. But I need to play the game right now. Baek Un Ha was in the middle of a ranking match, so her emotions were a bit heightened. Back in reality, Un Ha looked at the noisy scene around her before starting her unusual behavior. The mouse I use is only sold at this medium-sized computer store. But this place is too dangerous. There are too many people. My mission is to avoid everyone at all costs and get the mouse. As soon as Baek Un Ha approached the electronics section, she couldn't help but sigh. She quickly reached out to grab a box containing a new mouse. Being able to overcome her fear to complete the task made her happier than ever. It's done. Now I just need to get through the checkout. Unexpectedly, someone suddenly screamed loudly. Everyone ran away. She was bewildered, not understanding what was happening, while other customers were also confused. What's going on? Dahan rushed into the supermarket and blurted out a shocking piece of news. There's a dungeon seed in the storage basement. He struggled to catch his breath as he made the announcement. and it seemed like it was about to. Before he could finish, everyone saw a strange light suddenly erupting from behind him. A few moments later, Un Ha slowly woke up amidst the groans of the people around her. What the hell just happened? She quickly snapped to her senses as she sensed the unusual atmosphere around her. This isn't the store anymore. A nightmarish scene of the ground swallowing people, a fortress crawling with monsters. This is a dungeon. At that very moment, the ground shook violently, causing Un Ha to double over, panting uncontrollably. Wait, with so many people here, the crowd realized the abnormality of this space and couldn't help but scream. Call someone. Hurry, call the police. There's no signal. How are we supposed to call? But we can't just stand here and do nothing. Un Ha trembled, clutching her head as she collapsed to the ground. It was too noisy, and she didn't realize someone was watching her closely. She panted, screaming internally in panic. Please, I beg you all. Please just be quiet. At that moment, Hun Exik suddenly spoke up, drowning out everyone else. Everyone shut up. You want to die by making so much noise in a dungeon? Be quiet. Since this dungeon just formed, the monsters haven't spilled out from the boss room yet. This is our only chance to get out, so follow me if you want to survive. Hun Exik acted so knowledgeable, yet some people still expressed their doubts. Wait, who are you to know so much about this? He turned around, annoyed. I'm an apprentice hunter. Does that even matter right now? Other people rushed to follow him. No. Let's go. Wait. Only Haynes showed a bit of sympathy for Un Ha. Wait a second. She doesn't look so good. When a guy shouted back angrily, leave her behind. If we keep carrying dead weight, we're all going to die. She quickly lowered her voice to agree with him. That's right, kid. Hurry up and follow us. Haynes, though reluctant, had to stand up and leave slowly. A while later, Un Ha couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief. She stood up leisurely and muttered, a complete contrast to her weak appearance earlier. Finally, it's quiet. I almost fainted having to listen to those human sacrifice pillars chatter nonstop. The human sacrifice pillars were the group of adults she had ignored earlier. Only then did Un Ha look around and let herself keep mumbling. Anyway, what should I do now? This is big trouble. She stared at the death energy mana stone in her hand, lost in deep thought. I always carry mana stones as a precaution, but based on the previous experiment, they don't last long. I need to keep this as a last resort. Thinking back, Baek Un Ha gave this to me. Un Ha started muttering to herself in the empty space, a defensive necklace. I can crush this jewel to send a distress signal, and it even has a one-time use barrier. She quickly remembered the moment of sisterly affection they shared earlier. Remember to keep it with you. Okay, I know. She couldn't help but tear up inside as she remembered her younger sister giving it to her. I thought she was overreacting, but really Baek Un Ha, you're the best. Un Ha tried her best to squeeze that special protective necklace. A surge of hope made her sigh. It wouldn't be easy for her to leave the dungeon she's clearing right now to get here, but she'll definitely find a way. Please, I'm counting on you. Baek Un Ha. Meanwhile, the younger sister was listening to the team leader's announcement after a tiring shift. The Vanguard reports that today's clearing is finished. Let's set up camp here for now. Hoa excitedly started to say. Since the Vanguard reached the boss room today, we can finish this sweep tomorrow. Before she could finish, the team leader gently cut her off. Cha Hoa, you know we aren't allowed to lower our guard, right? Don't forget this is a B3 ranked dungeon. Even after being reminded, she wasn't scared. Instead, she confidently pointed at Baek Un Ha. It's dangerous enough that even veteran hunters could be wiped out if they're careless. You're trying to scare me again. With Un Ha here, our northern guild won't fall that easily. Suddenly dragged into the awkward conversation, she could only wave her hand and laugh. Cha Hoa, don't flatter me. A dungeon sweep doesn't become easy just because of one outstanding individual. But then, the necklace on her began to signal, emitting a strange light. Her teammate asked slowly and thoughtfully, Oh, Baek Un Ha. Is that signal? Baek Un Ha didn't want to believe what she was thinking, so she just stared at the unfinished question. No, the system interface just appeared. Baek Un Ha sent a distress signal from a dungeon. Her heart turned into a mess of panic. Location? Unbong Soon District Portal. Sister, a dungeon? Is she trapped in a dungeon? Un Ha's unusually dazed expression made those around her confused. What's wrong? What happened? Suddenly, without a word, she grabbed her spear and hurriedly left the scene, leaving everyone wondering. What is it? Baek Un Ha. Where are you going? She quickly ran forward, accidentally alerting the monsters in the distance. A group of venomous spiders and B-rank light-ring spiders stupidly offering themselves to heaven. Baek Un Ha suddenly remembered what Un Ha said when she was little. Why are you crying? Baek Un Ha. Did anyone in class hit you? If that happens, just punch them right in the face for me. True to her sister's wish, as soon as the spiders spat out their venom, Un Ha couldn't find a good angle to attack, so she just dashed away and then quickly slashed off a leg. The spider, as Un Ha's parting words echoed in her ears, "Don't let them look down on you." The moment Seo Ha was surrounded by the two spider tribes, Un Ha's childlike face flashed through her mind once more. "And if that doesn't work, just call me. I'll smash them to pieces for you." Her childhood devotion and love gave Seo Ha a rare sense of determination. Big sister. She quickly swung her spear, taking out anyone who stood in her way. Baek Seo Ha remained remarkably calm despite the battle cries of the monsters. Gathering her momentum, she charged headfirst into the enemy lines, her brutal actions leaving her teammates stunned. "I can't believe it." Hua spoke for everyone. "Is she always this strong?" But their team leader couldn't help but ponder as he watched her. Baek Seo Ha. "I always thought she was hiding her skills, but if this is her true strength, then she's no longer just an A-rank hunter." Before the thought could fully form, Baek Seo Ha kicked the wooden door open, making everyone jump in surprise. The moment she stepped into the pitch-black space, the B-rank marionette boss locked its gaze on Seo Ha from above. Before it could toss down the human bones it was holding, So, possessing sharp instincts, quickly channeled her energy and punched through the white bones blocking her path. She performed a somersault in the air to take out the weaker spiders. Before charging straight at the marionette spider, she delivered a few basic slashes. The moment she landed, the marionette spider exploded, leaving only the goddess of slaughter Seo Ha, who was busy whispering to her sister, "Please, hang in there just a little longer, sis. I'm coming for you right now, so please stay safe." Meanwhile, Un Ha had been crying in fear for some time. A clattering sound behind her made her petite body break out in goosebumps by instinct. Un Ha's chubby face remained panicked as she spun around. Who's there? Could it be those people from earlier? Surprisingly, unlike what she'd imagined, the creature silently approaching Un Ha was just a frail skeleton. The shallow sense of danger easily made her snap, and she lunged to kill the undead creature. Un Ha pinned it down and muttered irritably, "Give it here. Hurry up." Luckily, because the undead kept struggling, Un Ha easily snatched its sword. That little brat yet, instead of feeling grateful, she was actually annoyed and gave her opponent a sharp rap on the head. "Even with a god-level senior standing right in front of you, you don't even recognize me. You're just a nobody, yet you're trying to act all cool. Now I know my social anxiety doesn't trigger when I'm around monsters. You guys are much easier to deal with than humans." Un Ha suddenly fell silent, lost in thought as her eyes remained fixed on the dried skeleton in front of her. Furthermore, the clicking of bones, a sound she heard everywhere, meant that if this place was filled with low-level skeletons like this, it had to be a low-level undead dungeon. That means this is my home turf, baby. That surge of joy allowed Ha to raise her sword and talk to herself confidently. This chilling, heavy feeling, "It's been so long since I've felt this." Baek Un Ha was not only famous in Thibi for her undead summoning arts, but also for her swordsmanship. Just as she was about to say before she could finish, a piercing scream echoed throughout the area. Hain ran out of the path she had just traveled in a panic. "Help me!" Baek Un Ha heard the hurried footsteps rushing toward her and immediately pulled the hood of her cloak up. Damn it. A sacrificial pawn causing debuffs. It's that student from earlier. But why is she here alone? The memory forced her to stumble through her words, putting on that weak, pathetic act from before so she wouldn't get dragged into trouble. "I'm sorry, where are the others?" Hain, still unable to escape the fear from before, trembled as she replied, Everyone is dead." This negative new information left Baek Un Ha visibly shocked. "What did you say?" Her spine went cold as her mind replayed the sight of those innocent, vibrant people. A whole team wiped out in an instant in a low-level dungeon, even if they were just interns. Wasn't there a highly experienced hunter with them? A sudden, thunderous rumble made Hain panic. "It's here." Baek Un Ha, naturally familiar with that strange sound, broke into a cold sweat. "Damn it. Just now, I thought I heard a faint, distant clicking of bones. It turns out it was because this guy was so far away a giant skeleton. So this isn't a low-level dungeon at all." As soon as it raised its hand to attack, Un Ha shouted a command loudly, "Run!" No matter how fast the two of them tried to move, Un Ha could still feel the Grim Reaper's scythe right behind her, and she broke into tears in a panic. "I'm done for. I'm going to get caught. There has to be a way." Suddenly, Un Ha's eyes fell upon the skeleton monster she had dealt with earlier. "That skeleton I killed earlier, it's this one." Finally, finding a glimmer of hope, she quickly pulled out a magic stone to cast an explosion spell. As soon as Un Ha finished speaking, that tattered skeleton quickly began to glow, before exploding, causing the giant skeleton to be stalled mid-motion. Thanks to that, she had the chance to say to Hain, who was looking back in confusion, "Hurry!" While it's distracted. A long while later, Un Ha stood there, catching her breath with her in a strange corridor. "We managed to escape into a passage too narrow for that giant. We got away from the monster by ducking into a tunnel it couldn't fit through. But it's already been 2 hours since we got trapped in this dungeon. Hasn't the rescue team arrived yet? Having to drag around a sacrificial pawn that caused debuffs only made the situation worse. Un Ha had to listen to Hane's pitiful sobbing. Mommy, her brain felt like it was turning to mush almost immediately. Just like this, the problem is that before she could finish thinking, a squad of skeletons appeared right in front of the 2 poor souls. Bad luck? That group was a combination of shield-bearing warriors and aggressive support mages. Hane, seeing this for the first time, panicked and hugged Un Ha tightly, screaming at the top of her lungs, which made her snap in annoyance. Let go of me, please. A skeleton archer saw an opening and fired an arrow almost immediately. Un Ha, seeing this, didn't stay still. She immediately broke free from Hane's arms and grabbed her sword, rushing forward. Damn it. Her quick, clean sword swing easily blocked the arrow, but that heroic action made Un Ha's arm ache uncontrollably. As expected, this body still can't. A skeleton mage saw her pause and immediately unleashed a fireball. She quickly stifled the pain to shout an order to Hane, duck. The 2 girls luckily escaped the disaster of being burned alive by the fireball. Un Ha didn't even have a moment to catch her breath before the searing pain in her scorched shoulder made her wince. Sensing the situation was turning south, Un Ha decided to draw her sword and charge into the enemy's midst. She raised her sword and shouted, trying to fire herself up. Thanks to the experience she'd gained during her previous time traveling, Un Ha was now able to swing her blade with expert precision to take down the skeleton mage. But the moment she landed without a scratch, she noticed something strange happening right in front of her. Since when did they gather in such numbers? Something isn't right. Why are all these undead creatures swarming toward this exact spot? It's as if they know exactly where we are. As her anxiety began to mount, Ha reached into her pocket to search for something. The second her fingers touched that glowing purple mana stone, her mind suddenly cleared. Could it be? Are they tracking the death energy inside the mana stone? Is all of this my fault? No sooner had that thought crossed her mind than she was shoved aside by Hane. When Un Ha turned back, confused and demanding answers, what was that? Why? The sight before her left her too shocked to speak. The gruesome face of a devourer was sprinting toward them at an impossible speed. Her heart skipped a beat. A devourer? That was an undead monster that didn't exist in Thibi, but she had seen it on the internet. It would bite off the victim's head, consume their life force, and turn them into an undead thrall. Un Ha watched, confused, as Hane, terrified as he was, bravely stood in its path to protect her. Does he even know what that thing is, standing in its way like that? Just because a complete stranger helped him out a little? Un Ha couldn't help but grit her teeth. Don't make me laugh. She quickly pivoted, using her momentum to shove Hane aside with the hand holding the mana stone. Suddenly, a protective barrier appeared, blocking the devourer's terrifying attack. Un Ha instantly recognized where it came from. The self-defense necklace. They said it would protect her at least once. Returning to reality, she irritably snapped at the shivering Hane beside her. What do you think you're doing? Choosing death right in front of the monarch of death. Yet, Un Ha kept a close eye on the devourer's wide maw, which she was blocking with the mana stone. This difficult situation forced her to make a quick decision. That kind of absurdity was an insult to death itself. In a fit of pure rage, Un Ha crushed the mana stone in her hand, creating a shockwave that sent the devourer flying back several meters. The moment the last shards fell from her hand, Un Ha commanded with a firm voice, "Summon Undead." A massive surge of mana exploded, blasting the monsters away. The air shimmered with energy as a new, imposing creature materialized. As it drew its powerful blade, a thunderous boom erupted, forcing Un Ha and Hane to scramble and crouch for cover. Once the tremors subsided, she spoke coldly, "All right, let's have some fun." The Halloween night stood amidst the fading white smoke of the explosion, looking absolutely badass. A warrior holding ultimate loyalty to Un Ha, a skeleton warrior that somehow, against all logic, drew its sword first. The Halloween knight barely lifted its weapon to block before the monster's blade shattered into pieces. Seeing this as a challenge, the Halloween knight dove into the enemy ranks, cutting them down one by one. Each vicious swing claimed another victim, leaving them no time to even realize what had happened. A beast-headed skeleton rushed toward the Halloween knight, desperate to save the dire situation. The knight didn't even flinch, barely glancing back. With a casual motion, it shattered the fragile, bony body of the impudent monster. Seeming annoyed, the Halloween knight slammed the creature straight into the ancient stone wall. After finishing the job, it stood silently as the other skeletons backed away, desperate to keep a safe distance. While Hane finally exhaled in relief, and the rest of the skeletons looked on in shock, Un Ha chewed her nails out of habit, her mind racing. They were undead she created, so she guessed they were pretty top tier. It's a good thing he's drawing all their attention. But the problem is, I'm burning through my death energy way too fast. At this rate, I can only hold on for another 2 or 3 minutes. As the situation turned dire, Un Ha had no choice but to use her most desperate tactic, clasping her hands in prayer. Heavens above. Technically, Shezia is a god, too. So, I'm praying to Shezia as well. Please, let Seo Ha or the rescue team get here before it's too late. No sooner had that thought ended than the skeleton mage and the devourer attacked at the same time. The Halloween knight didn't waver, effortlessly shattering both of the mage's spells with its sword. Then, it grabbed the devourer by the head. The Halloween knight tilted its body, winding up like a baseball pitcher to hurl the devourer straight into the skeleton mage. Killing 2 birds with 1 stone, literally. That smooth counterattack gave Un Ha a flicker of hope in this desperate situation. But at this rate, maybe we can finish off the giant before time runs out. Suddenly, a giant skeleton appeared in her vision, and Un Ha jumped in fright. It's here. The giant skeleton's face was filled with hatred after its previous failed lunge. Un Ha sensed something bad. She hurriedly ordered, "Go, Halloween Knight, take them both out," but the knight just stared at her blankly. Its body began to glow, leaving Un Ha panicked. "Hey, what's going on?" In just a few short seconds, the Halloween knight began to tremble violently before collapsing to the ground right before Un Ha's stunned eyes. The harsh truth hit her, and she could only weep internally. It's over. It's only been 2 minutes. I knew I shouldn't have bothered praying to someone like Chezia. When Hain nervously asked, "What do we do now?" Un Ha just stood there, sweat pouring down her face, before trembling and whispering the most soul-crushing future possible, "We might actually die here." Hain's face went completely pale at those words. Un Ha could no longer focus on his despair, only staring in agony at the giant skeleton's reaching hand. No way is this really the end for the Underworld monarch. I can't die like this. Seo Ha. At that very moment of extreme tension, someone came flying in at breakneck speed, closing the distance. The newcomer quickly slashed across the giant skeleton's head. As its massive body collapsed to the ground, Seo Ha teleported right beside it. As soon as she stood up straight, the massive skeleton shattered into 100 pieces. The desperate cry from Baek Seo Ha gave Baek Un Ha such a surge of hope that she even forgot to cry. "Is anyone there? If someone is there, please answer me." Meanwhile, Baek Un Ha was still busy spacing out, lost in thought. She spoke, her lips trembling slowly. Recognizing the voice, Baek Un Ha turned around in surprise. As soon as Baek Seo Ha caught sight of her sister's small figure, she rushed toward her, full of worry. "Sister," Baek Seo Ha, "look at the state you're in now." As Baek Un Ha trembled and raised her hand, she didn't want to hear those words and quickly cut her sister off. "Don't worry about me. Are you hurt anywhere? Is your shoulder injured? What are we going to do?" Baek Un Ha began to say out of habit, but before she could finish, "It's not that serious." Her body suddenly lost energy, causing her to stagger. A vague thought quickly flickered in the back of her mind. A shut-in like me has used up too much energy. I can't take any more of this. Baek Un Ha's small body collapsed to the ground as the 2 people around her watched in confusion, panicking and shouting, "Sister! Sister Baek Un Ha." A few days later, news outlets were flooded with content about the events of that day. The sharpshooter Baek Seo Ha had rescued 2 civilians from a B4 ranked dungeon. Baek Seo Ha's achievement in resolving the dungeon seed incident that day caused the internet to explode. Just as Baek Un Ha had predicted, the dungeon turned out not to be a fake, but a B4 ranked dungeon. The boss monster was reported to be a creature called the Butcher Coburn. Unfortunately, she was unconscious at the time, so she didn't get to see anything. Regardless, thanks to this incident, the internet was now filled with praise for Baek Seo Ha, the model hunter with the noble spirit of responsibility. She had rushed there immediately after clearing a B3 ranked dungeon. Now, there wasn't a single hater left who wouldn't support Baek Seo Ha, right? Reading through all those uplifting comments, Baek Un Ha felt happy and celebrated in her heart, though she wasn't surprised. After all, she had conquered 2 high-level dungeons in a single day. Suddenly, Baek Seo Ha knocked on the door and asked, "Sister, do you want to go for a walk today? Staying cooped up in your room all day isn't good for your health." Baek Un Ha feigned trembling as she replied, "Can we go another time? I still don't feel very well," causing her sister to let out a long, sad sigh. Okay. Ever since that incident, whenever Baek Un Ha used her lingering injuries as an excuse, Baek Seo Ha never pressed her further. She felt a bit guilty for making her worry, but Baek Un Ha needed a little more time to recover in this room. Feeling frustrated, she sighed to herself, putting those thoughts aside for now. There's one thing I've realized from this incident. The strength I accumulated in the Thibi realm is still in effect. Otherwise, there's no way I could have done that much with just a low-level magic stone. Of course, As long as I still rely on someone else's energy, nothing will truly change. Unless I find a way to fully restore my own power. The dilemma made Baek Un Ha feel lazy again. My head hurts. Stop thinking about it. I should ask Song Ha to send me more magic stones. She quickly fell back into her gaming loop, her blood-red eyes rarely revealing such an unusual, aggressive competitiveness. I thought things would be different if I awakened. Thinking that changing her mouse meant changing her luck, she didn't expect the gray screen to appear again, signaling her loss 1-0. She quickly clicked to rematch for revenge. She lost the second, but as the third battle ended, losing 3-0, Baek Un Ha pounded on her blanket in agony and started screaming. Baek Un Ha, who was resting outside, was startled. As she frantically asked, "Sister, what's wrong? What happened?" Baek Un Ha could only think painfully about her worst luck yet. I even bought a new mouse, but I still bond my rank up series. Meanwhile, in a bustling neighborhood inside a retro cafe, Song Ha sat frozen, staring at the table in front of her. A wave of nervousness caused her to break into a cold sweat. What do I do? I never thought I'd actually meet her. Suddenly, a girl appeared with an incredible aura. Oh my, you arrived sooner than I expected. As soon as Song Ha felt that magical pressure, she went blank. She seemed to struggle to breathe under the newcomer's presence. It took a few seconds for Song Ha to regain her composure enough to identify her opponent. This person, it's Helena, the S-rank Necromancer. Things had to go back a while, to when Song Ha had just exited a dungeon via a portal. She had quickly bowed to thank those who accompanied her. Everyone worked hard today. Her colleagues around her laughed and replied immediately. You too, Song Ha. This is my first time clearing a dungeon this smoothly. You're amazing. Being in a party with someone famous is truly an honor for me. Their way of speaking was a bit excessive, making Song Ha visibly embarrassed. Who would say that? I'm not that good. It had been 3 months since she started working as both a hunter and a streamer, and since graduating from her trainee status. Lately, Song Ha had been receiving a lot of attention. I heard you've cleared 50 dungeons already? Song Ha's growth rate gives me goosebumps. Isn't she advancing faster than the S-rank hunters did when they were at low levels? Do you think she'll really become an S-rank? She skimmed through the comments and awkwardly laughed it off, while her brain was busy thinking. That seems like an exaggeration. On the way home from work, Song Ha thought about everything, feeling frustrated. To be honest, the only reason she was doing so well was because of the person who always helped her during the streams. Who exactly was that person? Judging by what they knew, they definitely weren't an ordinary expert. Is there even a necromancer in Korea that's skilled? She was so lost in thought she didn't hear the chatter around her. That's Song Ha. Suddenly, an unexpected thought appeared in her head. Wait, could it be Helena, the S-rank necromancer? Come to think of it, it definitely had to be someone of that caliber. No, those were exactly the kinds of tips only she could give. Thinking that, Song Ha continued her stream as usual. Hello everyone, it's been a while since I've streamed from home like this. Yes, she had just heard the system notification that Helena had donated 80 million won, and she replied out of habit to be polite. Thank you for the donation. But halfway through, Song Ha stared blankly at the screen. Being the recipient of a 7-figure donation for the first time made her panic to the point of almost losing her words. Wait, how much did you just say? No way. More importantly, there's Helena. I hadn't even had the chance to express anything before she donated another 80 million won, accompanied by a gentle message. I'll be in Korea next week. Are you free to meet up? Returning to reality, Helena let her aura spread throughout the cafe, then spoke slowly. I happen to have a schedule in Korea, and I wanted to meet you in person at least once. I'm sure this invitation is a bit sudden, so thank you for agreeing so quickly. There are quite a few things I want to ask you. Hearing those words, Ha replied in a fluster. Of course. Please, feel free to ask me anything you want. Her anxious feelings instantly shifted into excitement. She couldn't believe the real flesh and blood Helena was actually there. It turned out that account wasn't an imposter. It really was her. Helena cleared her throat slowly. That action made Ha self-conscious, and she began to answer seriously. Yes. Helena recalled the script she had prepared beforehand before speaking slowly. You know that red skeleton you recently created in the game, right? The description was detailed enough that Ha knew exactly which monster she was referring to. Do you mean the blood skeleton warrior? Hearing its name for the first time, Helena couldn't hide her interest as she nodded and muttered to herself. So that's what you call it. How exactly did you come up with that? That blunt question left Ha frozen for a few seconds. Why would she ask something like that? Wasn't she her mentor? Ha tried to apply Un Ha's way of responding to Helena, thinking, that's not right. How could you not understand that? Before immediately dismissing the thought, but reflecting on her usual playful way of speaking, the two didn't match at all. So, she slowly opened her mouth to share her inner thoughts. The truth is, To be precise, I'm not the one who thought of it. Most of my necromancy techniques were passed down to me by my master. Helena frowned at this new information, but remained composed enough to press further. Your master, what kind of person are they? Ha awkwardly scratched her cheek and looked away. I'm afraid I can't say much about that, though inside, she couldn't hide her frustration as she muttered to herself. To be honest, I don't really know much about them either. Helena observed her reaction and thought for a few seconds before continuing the conversation. I see. I understand. Trade secret, I suppose. She quickly withdrew her gloomy aura and couldn't help but let out a weary sigh. Helena took a slow sip of her coffee and spoke up. I won't probe further into that, then. Let's talk about something else. Being approached by her idol, Song Ha couldn't help but feel uneasy. Yes. Helena quickly chuckled and probed. Do you have a favorite necromancy spell? Ha didn't notice anything strange about her attitude and excitedly chatted until the end of the meeting. When Helena expressed her desire to end the conversation, I had a wonderful time today. Ha quickly caught on, cutting short what she wanted to say to reply politely. The honor is all mine. Hearing that, she nodded, grabbed her bag, and walked out. I'll be in touch, and I hope we can have another pleasant chat like this next time. Ha happily jumped up to bow. Yes, definitely. Please travel safely. But as soon as the person disappeared from the cafe, she laughed excitedly, squealing loudly in the shop. I can't believe it. She gave me advice and even brought a gift. I'm so glad I came here. Fortunately, Helena couldn't hear those words and walked forward seriously to call someone. As soon as the person picked up, she spoke up immediately. Yeah, it's me. I have a request. Investigate everything about her. I don't care what methods you use. Even the smallest detail. I want to know it all. Time passed, and Un Ha, who was in the room, raised her eyebrows in confusion upon hearing her younger sister's words. Baek Un Ha didn't hesitate to spout a ton of new information to express her idea. I heard that many influential people from different countries will be attending, and they really insisted that you have to come. But I don't want to leave the house empty again. How about you come with me? Un Ha was so flustered that she stammered. What? She hurriedly knelt down and hugged her sister, crying. Please, Seo Ha, I'll die if I have to go to places like that. Her sister had already anticipated this, so she could only sigh and mumble. I know, but if you just stay quietly in the hotel, it should be fine, right? The mention of luxury immediately swayed Un Ha. As her mind raced, she couldn't stop herself from suggesting things. You said it's a 5-star hotel, right? Considering how much time she had spent fighting and risking her life every day, she had never dared to think about enjoying such luxuries. Having a place to rest was already like home. Perhaps she should take this opportunity to go. As she excitedly muttered, should I go? Baek Un Ha immediately picked up on the information, beaming. Really, sister? Then let's go buy clothes right now. When Un Ha awkwardly stepped back saying, I really don't need clothes, Baek Un Ha pulled her forward relentlessly. You can't go to an event like that just wearing a hoodie. Sister. A while later, she happily watched Un Ha's fury over the flashy dress her sister had personally picked out for her. I told you I wasn't going to wear something like this. Those fun moments finally vanished, making way for the serious moments of clinking glasses with prestigious people. Meanwhile, Seo Ha wore a stunning outfit to stand on par with world-famous stars, billionaires, high-level hunters. This place was a gathering of big names in every field. It was truly a world for extroverts. But what about the world of introverts? For an introvert, a computer and a few online friends are enough to conquer the world. For example, Baek Un Ha, who was busy chatting in-game. JP, long time no see. Come help with the dungeon. When her partner reluctantly gave her bad news, sorry, I have too much work today. I can't play. Un Ha screamed in frustration. Oh no, now this introvert has nothing left but her computer. That loneliness made her face turn sour. What a bunch of useless people. Fine, I'll show you what true elegance is when Baek Un Ha goes solo. A few minutes later, after that big talk, Sister Baek Un Ha quickly collapsed to the floor, ignoring the computer that was busy reporting the endless results. You have died. That utter humiliation made, she slammed her laptop shut, then collapsed onto the floor with a groan. I'm so hungry, the staff should be bringing food soon. The moment Baek Un Ha took a bite, a sudden, heavy silence filled the vast room. Then a sharp doorbell rang, and she was so excited that her thin blanket slipped off, but she just wrapped it around herself and dashed to the door. Baek Un Ha shouted as she ran, I'm coming. She opened the door with a strange, nervous flutter, but the sight before her made Baek Un Ha break into a cold sweat. She stared blankly at his empty hands, then noticed Hammond's incredibly expensive, high-end clothes and stood there stunned. Wait, aren't you the hotel staff? Suddenly, she heard a snort of mockery from him. Without thinking, she blurted out, Who are you? Her brain started racing. and her forehead broke out in a cold sweat. Wait, I didn't stutter just now. She quickly threw the blanket at him. Hamin yelled in confusion. What the hell was that? Baek Un Ha stood there, frozen, analyzing the situation in her head. She realized that, until now, her social anxiety only vanished in two specific scenarios. First, when she was with family like Baek Un Ha, and second, when she was facing a monster. That meant the thing standing in front of her right now. With that thought, Baek Un Ha frowned and asked, seriously, "Hey, what exactly are you? You're not human, are you?" As soon as she finished, she saw Hamin's bewildered expression. That detail made Baek Un Ha even more alert. Hamin suddenly burst into laughter, and the tension in the air eased slightly, which only made Baek Un Ha visibly annoyed. What? What's so funny? Hamin laughed as he reached out to ruffle her hair roughly. I guess I can't blame you for reacting like that, especially after seeing my monster-like strength. His cocky behavior made Baek Un Ha seethe. Let go of me. But he didn't seem embarrassed at all. Instead, he laughed even harder. Seriously, being too strong is a sin, too. She fumed. What's wrong with this guy? Is he not a monster, but just a complete idiot? Wait, I've seen that face somewhere. Suddenly, an old memory surfaced. She had seen him on the news. An S-rank hunter and the first to return, Choi Hamin. The moment of reflection passed as Baek Un Ha heard him speak again. Right? You're that family member Baek Un Ha mentioned, aren't you? She frowned, confused. Why am I talking to this guy so normally? Before she could respond with a question, Hamin rambled on. Why so tense? I just dropped by to ask where Baek Un Ha went. His question made her furrow her brows. Baek Un Ha? She left early for an event. The moment Choi Hamin heard that, he shared what he knew. She disappeared right when the event ended. I thought she would be back here. Baek Un Ha stood there in a daze, letting him continue. Good grief, where could she have gone? She was the one who suggested an after-party for the group, and now she's gone. Meanwhile, Baek Un Ha, who was missing from their conversation, was busy at the fingerprint scanner. Before entering a dark room, Helena, who had been waiting, sighed and spoke up. You're finally here. Baek Un Ha frowned, replying seriously. Calling me to the training room all of a sudden, what do you want from me? Helena. Called by her name with such coldness, she just tilted her head slightly, revealing sharp, phoenix-like eyes staring straight at Baek Un Ha. A sudden thought crossed Helena's mind as she saw the other woman walking toward her. A-rank hunter. The divine spear. Baek Un had to think there's such a connection. Son Ha had mentioned that she had a master, and her investigation showed it all started from advice she received in an online chat room, but she never expected that account to lead straight to Baek Un Ha's residence. In this situation, the person behind it was likely her newly returned family member. But first, I need to verify the truth, so I started with the easiest person to approach. With that thought, Helena activated her aura. What do I want? Let's see. What do you think I'm here for? Baek Un Ha stood still, watching the dark aura of the other woman spread across the room. She stood there, observing her strange behavior and swallowing all her thoughts. A moment later, Baek Un Ha spoke slowly. I don't have time to play games with you. Helena studied her attitude for a long time and couldn't help but sigh. If she knew even the slightest bit about necromancy, she wouldn't have reacted like this, so it really wasn't her. That was clear, but it was disappointing. It was so vague she couldn't even feel the killing intent from the materialized spirits. It seems the rumors about her being near S rank were just baseless gossip. Baek Un Ha quickly grabbed one of Helena's mana hands. If you want to test me, Baek Un Ha's calm silence made Helena frown with tension. That unusual look of guilt made Baek Un Ha quickly swipe through the air to make the mana hands dissipate. I really don't mind. Helena wasn't scared. She laughed instead, thinking, did she know from the start? Still, she didn't forget to raise her hand to maneuver. This isn't the answer I'm looking for, but this is interesting. Then let's do it. Let's just say we ran into each other after the event and decided to have a little exercise. Upon hearing that, Baek Un Ha pressed her small baton, making it expand into a large steel rod, preparing for battle. Sounds good. Both girls fell silent, waiting for the other to strike first. In the end, Helena eagerly made the first move, controlling her mana hands toward her opponent. Baek Un Ha easily swiped them aside with her rod and quickly leaped in front of Helena. Helena saw the rod swinging toward her and smiled excitedly before reacting. Meanwhile, Baek Un Ha tried to hold back her nausea to order the person in front of her. Wait, put me down, now. People are looking. It's so embarrassing. Hamin felt the person on his back struggling, so he tightened his grip and spoke up. No, we have to find Baek Un Ha quickly. As she tried to steady herself to speak, her mind, isn't she just talking to someone she met by chance? She'll definitely come back if we just wait, she thought. No matter how much she argued, Hamin wouldn't listen and actually increased his running speed. She'll definitely come back if we just wait, no matter how much she tries to argue. Hammond still refused to trust her and even picked up his running pace. How can you say that when this whole area is flooded with killing intent? If you weren't awakened, you should be able to feel it too. Something must have happened to Baek Un Ha. Un Ha bluntly shared the hard truth she had been trying to forget. But I'm not an awakened. The unexpected answer caught him slightly off guard. What? Even though you're a returnee? Usually, everyone awakens the moment they return. Un Ha was stunned for a moment after hearing that news. Her mind went into a whirlwind. Is that something that's supposed to be obvious for returnees? Then why didn't I? A moment later, Troy Heyman looked up at the smoking building above and spoke in a heavy, somber tone. Over there, in the Hall C training area as she voiced her thoughts. Why is there a training room inside the hotel grounds anyway? Hammond quickly replied without giving it much thought. Because high-level hunters frequent this place. All right, we're going to fly straight there in one leap. His sudden, casual bow left her feeling slightly bewildered. What? Fly? As soon as he started channeling his power to take a stance, Un Ha felt genuinely terrified and gripped his shoulders tightly. Wait, what are you doing? Hammond didn't care about her protests and performed a high-speed leap into the sky. Un Ha couldn't even close her mouth, left gasping for air as they rushed through the sky. A few seconds later, Hammond landed on a blackened floor. The scene around them left him visibly unsettled. Good lord, what on earth happened here? Suddenly, every cell in Hammond's body set off a red alert. He hurriedly shoved Un Ha aside, careful but forceful. While she was still falling to the ground, Hammond raised his hands to brace against the intense mana radiating from the battle between Helena and Un Ha, not forgetting to throw himself over Un Ha to shield her. After a long while, she finally spoke up, confused, once Hammond signaled for her to turn around. What the heck is going on? Baek Un Ha? The familiar voice distracted her for a few seconds. Big Sister Hammond? How did you guys get here? Helena also took the opportunity to stare blankly at the strange girl who had just appeared on the battlefield. An idea suddenly popped into her head as her eyes scanned the girl's face. Memorizing that unique look, that accidental discovery made Helena excitedly cut everyone off mid-sentence. I think we should stop here. With that, she suddenly teleported in front of Un Ha while Un Ha looked on with concern. Since when could she do that? She began to shout out of instinct. Sister. She looked at Un Ha with worry as Helena pinched her cheeks, tilting her head. Helena gazed at her for a few seconds before chatting leisurely. Just as I thought. Choi Heyman saw that the fight between the two girls had ended and quickly interjected. So it was Helena, what does this rude behavior mean? She let go, freeing Un Ha's cheeks. Rude? I was just keeping Baek Un Ha company for a bit. Besides, nobody's hurt, right? He didn't know what to say, so he could only stammer in response. Even so, Helena looked at the huge hole behind her and laughed to herself. Is this about the broken walls? I'll pay for all the damages, so don't worry. I'll take my leave now. As soon as she finished, her feet automatically turned toward the wall so Helena could easily slide down while her hands were busy casting a special spell. She summoned her bone bird to ride away in a flash. While Un Ha stood there stunned, listening to Heyman's incoherent chatter honestly, she couldn't understand that woman at all. Un Ha couldn't take it anymore and screamed from behind them. Heyman, what kind of place do you think this is to bring her here? He stumbled, trying to explain. No, wait, but she cut him off and kept venting. I told you to take care of her properly, like you were taking care of a newborn. That slightly exaggerated description made Un Ha shyly speak up. Baek Un Ha. Even I'm not that useless. Who knew that act would cause her to turn and start scolding her sister too? And you're not off the hook either, sister. I told you not to follow anyone. Being scolded like a child, she stood there, stunned and stammering. But Un Ha still couldn't hold back her anger and yelled her lungs out. Why would you follow someone who looks so suspicious? Heyman, hearing how she described him, panicked and shouted. Suspicious? The chaotic conversation went completely unnoticed by Helena, who was heading somewhere else. She ignored the cold wind, blowing in her face, letting her mind wander happily. Finally, I found you. This time, I'm sure this is the correct answer. Unsure how much time had passed, Un Ha, completely drained of energy, flopped onto her soft bed. I'm dying. I'm literally going to die. So many things happened in such a short amount of time. It's so exhausting. Seriously. Baek Un Ha remembered the terrifying roller coaster ride of an event and felt a surge of irritation in her mind. It's all because of that Choi Hammond guy for making me feel embarrassed for no reason. He already went to the party with Baek Un Ha. So, I won't run into him anymore, right? But why was I so calm and natural when talking to him? Is it because we're both returnees? If I meet other returnees, will it be like this too? The novel idea quickly swept Un Ha into a new wave of fuzzy thoughts, and the things he said keep bothering me. The idea that returnees awaken the moment they return. Before I returned, Shezia said I might lose my power. Even so, it seems most returnees awaken and regain their powers. So why am I the only one who not only has a faulty awakening but is also treated like a child with social anxiety? It's as if they're wary of my power. Un Ha stopped mid-thought, realizing how plausible that idea was. Wary of whom, exactly? Being backed into a corner made Un Ha restless, tossing and turning. I don't know. My head hurts so much. What's the point of thinking about all this? She quickly sat up and made a great decision for herself. I came here today to play games, so I'm not going to worry anymore. From now on, it's just gaming time. Following that wish, Baek Un Ha quickly logged into the game with an attitude like she was about to start a full-blown revolution. She controlled her character, attacking the fire dragon directly under the surprised gazes of other players, charging forward. Fire dragon, heal, heal, heal me. As the mage retreated, Un Ha heard someone outside knocking on the door continuously, and was only busy torturing the new mouse, along with her own fragile throat. I told you to back off, didn't I? Why won't you listen? Get out of here, now. Helena was completely desperate before. Following standard etiquette, I slipped my mana through the crack in the door, while Un Ha was still busy shouting, "Right, good job. Keep it up. Let's prepare for phase 2. She controlled the magical hand to open the door, and as she offered up her happiness, perfect. Phase 1 was a success. Helena stood leisurely right next to her and gently reached out to close the laptop. Unfortunately, that impulsive action accidentally pinched Un Ha's tiny hand, causing her so much pain that she burst into tears, yet she still didn't forget to turn around and throw a tantrum. What are you doing? The words that followed were quickly swallowed back by Un Ha. Upon discovering that the person who did that wasn't her sister, Helena calmly began to explain herself in a dignified manner. I rang the doorbell for a long time, but no one answered. Do you have a moment to talk? A while later, Un Ha hid under a large blanket, listening to Helena's proposal. Then I'll get straight to the point. You're hiding your power, aren't you? That strange question made her jump, confused. What was that? She observed the other's blank expression for a moment before replying. I know you're a returner, and you're the one who taught Song Ha, right? The other's bluntness naturally made Un Ha break into a cold sweat. How did she know about that? There was no way Song Ha would have told her. She didn't even know that she herself was a returner. But what did she mean by saying she was hiding her power? Under that clearly suspicious gaze, Helena slowly continued the conversation. Actually, I'm the type of person who can't stand being curious about something, especially if it involves necromancy. I only did a brief background check, so don't be so scared. Her mischievous smile made Un Ha unable to say a word, even though she was irritated. That was exactly what made her so terrifying. Ma'am, Helena said, not caring that she hadn't received an answer, and continued to share. So, would you please answer me? I've traveled all this way to Korea just to find that answer. That excessive friendliness forced Un Ha's heart to work harder than usual, to the point where her body started showing signs of exhaustion. What should I do? How much should I tell her? Who knows what she's plotting if I just answer carelessly? At the moment she was still hesitating whether to open her mouth or not, Helena decided to find out the truth herself. I see you have no intention of answering me voluntarily, do you? Then there's only one way left. I'll have to ask your soul directly. Helena's lack of patience in immediately casting a spell made Un Ha panic to the point of screaming. Wait, I was just about to answer you. Un Ha had only just said that before feeling so sleepy she couldn't even speak. And then, in just a split second, Helena watched silently as she sank into a deep sleep caused by her own hand. She didn't show any signs of regret, but simply whispered softly, Now, show me your soul. Helena quickly used her mana to probe Un Ha's heart. Just as she sensed the spot she needed to touch, Helena hurriedly forced her mana deep inside Un Ha. A strange sensation made her visibly surprised. What is this? Is something blocking the way? This feeling is. The moment Helena tried to pull it up, she was truly shocked by what she saw. Iron chains? This is the first time I've ever seen something like this. These intertwined chains were hiding the soul. Why would something like this be here? Helena wasn't one to give up easily. She was more excited by this sight than ever. Her overwhelming excitement made her hands tremble. That's right. If I don't know, I just need to dig deeper into it, right? Just like everything I've always done. Unexpectedly, no matter what Helena tried, those chains refused to be unraveled. This strange development made her visibly panicked. This makes no sense. It even suppresses my death energy. But Helena quickly regained her composure as her mind formulated a new plan. I know I shouldn't do this, but just a little more I want to see deeper inside. The moment one chain loosened, the darkest fragments of Un Ha's soul were suddenly exposed, taking on the most grotesque shapes. Save me. I want to go home. I don't want to die. I was wrong. Those desperate, tragic cries echoed through the space, making even someone with nerves of steel like Helena unable to take it. forcing her to clutch her head. What is this? My head feels like it's about to split open. Suddenly, at that very moment, a strange, black hand reached out before Helena's eyes. A dark, poisonous fragment of Un Ha's soul looked at her and hissed, "You filthy worm, you're walking toward your own death." Only at that moment did Helena start to feel so terrified that she burst into tears. "I'm actually going to die. I have to restore the iron chains quickly." Thanks to Helena giving up on disturbing the seal, that negative energy quickly retreated back into Un Ha. She immediately woke up as if she had just finished a deep sleep. The moment Un Ha saw Helena's figure in front of her, she sat up and mumbled, "So, I was just about to answer you." She looked confusedly at the other person, who was trembling and clutching her head as if someone had just scared her. Even now, Helena still hadn't shaken off the fear from what had just happened. A while later, she knelt down properly, then spoke in a timid voice, "So that's what happened to you. I never expected you to lose all your power and turn into a child like this. But your power hasn't disappeared. It's still inside your soul. If that's the case, it seems you can truly regain it through awakening. If you need anything to regain your power, just tell me." Finally, there was some good news, but Un Ha didn't feel very happy. "I will support you as much as I can. That would be great for me. But why are you going this far?" Helena didn't hesitate to say it straight. "Because there's something I want you to help me with." She was stunned once again by this bluntness. Asking for help? Helena tentatively gauged the other's attitude when she realized Un Ha was genuinely confused by her words. Helena gathered all her remaining courage to ask, "Could you take me on as your disciple?" As soon as Un Ha heard that question, she went blank, then confusedly tilted her head to the side. Before awkwardly asking back, "A disciple?" Time passed, and Seo Ha, who had just returned, raised an eyebrow in confusion. "Did someone stop by here, sister? The room feels kind of messy." Un Ha just rested her chin on her hand and replied lazily, "No." Even though she still had many questions, she explained it away to put her own mind at ease, so she didn't notice her sister's awkward expression. Besides, thinking about it, why would my sister ever invite anyone over? But what is that smell? A few moments earlier, Un Ha had jumped up, startled, and shouted, "Your disciple? You want me to teach her?" Receiving no answer from the other party left her feeling vaguely uneasy. Are these really the words of an S-rank necromancer? A few minutes passed before Helena, looking distressed, regained her composure. She hurriedly knelt and pleaded, "Please, I'm begging you. No matter what, I want to see with my own eyes what lies beyond that realm." For the first time, Un Ha was slightly flustered by this level of respect. Oh my god. Helena didn't hear the answer she wanted, so she hurriedly crawled over to express herself. "If you need anything else, I will support you with everything I have." The sight of her crawling and reaching out made her go pale. All right, I get it." Her small body was suddenly hugged tight, causing the words to escape from Un Ha's throat, sounding strangely weak. "Please, just calm down, will you?" She felt herself being squeezed tighter and tighter, so she could only curse under her breath. That S-rank, cursed sacrificial object. A few days had passed since the incident, and Un Ha had returned to the comfort of her own home. During that time, a small issue arose. She looked blankly up at the ceiling and muttered to herself, "So this is this actually the status window that Awakened Ones see, right?" The blue board floating there didn't make Un Ha feel happy at all. Instead, she felt a bit dissatisfied. Because other than her name, there was nothing else there. No skills she could use either. What kind of useless status window is this? Her mind suddenly fell into a state of minor annoyance. Ever since Helena touched something inside her last time, she had been able to see this incomplete thing. Thinking it might help, she had asked Helena to do it again before she went home. But Helena had shown a pale, terrified expression and flatly refused. So Un Ha cut off that line of thought and sighed, muttering, "In the end, nothing has changed." It seems like she was stuck rotting in her room again. As she lay there feeling frustrated, she wondered, would anything change if I went out to take down a monster or two? But she wasn't even a hunter, so how could she? Suddenly, the loud voice of Seo Ha reached her ears. "Big sister, your delivery is here. Let's have dinner." That very sound gave Un Ha hope. That was it. She excitedly gripped the bedsheets as her gloomy mood lifted. There was a way. A while later, as the two girls were nibbling on delicious two-flavor fried chicken, Seo Ha felt something was wrong and asked, "Sis, you said you wanted chicken, but you haven't even touched it yet. Are you feeling unwell?" Un Ha, who had been struggling to contain her emotions, decided to use this opportunity to speak up. "Seo Ha, I've awakened." That bombshell of an opening didn't just freeze her sister, but made her drop the chicken wing right onto the table. That reaction made Un Ha look away, feeling embarrassed. Well, it's only half awakened, but it's an awakening nonetheless. If she wanted to convince Seo Ha, she should probably explain it this way. To become a hunter who can enter dungeons, Un Ha suddenly slammed the table and stood up. Since when did that happen? That startled Un Ha a bit, but she still opened her mouth to reply. After she returned from the hotel, what followed was a round of questioning that felt like an interrogation at a police station. What type are you, sis? It's obviously necromancy, right? You aren't lying to me, are you? Am I really that untrustworthy? In reality, Un Ha was mixing lies with the truth. Up to this very moment, Un Ha still looked a bit stiff, but she pretended to be calm and sat back down. No, the thing I feared most has finally happened. Un Ha couldn't miss that look, so she just sighed and played her trump card. All right, you don't believe me, right? I've already prepared the materials. If you don't believe me, I'll show you. The gesture of her reaching her hand forward left Un Ha visibly confused. What do you mean? Just as Un Ha conjured a hazy flow of mana over the tray of chicken bones, a familiar sensation made Un Ha break into a cold sweat. You can really use necromancy? No way. Meanwhile, Un Ha was using a flow of power from a mana stone she had been hiding behind her back. To begin transferring power to the pile of white bones, Un Ha went quiet and focused on chanting. When she felt the golden moment had arrived, she snapped her eyes open and cleared her throat to command the undead to rise. In just a few short seconds, a massive surge of power engulfed the bowl of chicken bones. While Un Ha waited seriously for the monster to be summoned, Un Ha started coughing uncontrollably from the lack of air and cursed internally. Damn it, that's right, it's always like this indoors. Once the toxic smoke cleared, she tried to suppress her coughing to speak. So, what do you think? That's the undead I created. A creature crystallized from the meaningless bone fragments in the bowl the two sisters shared began to emerge. Un Ha even lowered her voice, trying to sound dangerous. Before she could finish her sentence, she saw the monster take a slow, shaky step toward her sister, then quickly collapse on the table and depart from this world after only 2 exhausted steps. Un Ha covered her mouth, showing pity for the creature. Poor thing. Un Ha read her sister's mind and cleared her throat to explain. It was a success. No, wait, that's not it. I accidentally summoned one with half a leg and a wing. Regardless, it proves that I've awakened. So I also want to register as a hunter. Un Ha didn't even think before flatly refusing. No, I object. When she saw the shock on Un Ha's face, she added, Why are you so surprised? Do you really have to ask why after seeing that thing? And leave your ability aside for a moment. Think about it. Communication is the most important thing for a hunter. Imagine you're playing a team sport like soccer. Would you be able to shout even once to ask your teammate to pass the ball? As soon as she heard that, Un Ha became so flustered she started stuttering. Soccer, but her opponent still looked skeptical. Un Ha immediately laid out her stance. What I mean is, if even basic communication is that difficult for you, how can you handle forming a party, resolving conflicts, and sweeping dungeons as a hunter? Even if you are strong, the dungeon will still become dangerous if you act recklessly on your own. Suddenly, Un Ha remembered the time she had abandoned her team without a word to save her sister, and she fell into a moment of awkward silence. Perhaps I'm not the right person to say this, but even so, I can't let you do something so dangerous. With that thought in mind, Un Ha quickly regained his composure and spoke up. Don't be so hasty. Even a simple part-time job is difficult for you, so how could you possibly become a hunter? Let's start by finding things you can handle, one step at a time. Un Ha stood frozen, taking in his sincere concern, but she still felt stifled and let out a sharp grunt. That sound quickly startled Un Ha. Did I say too much? As soon as that thought crossed his mind, he carefully asked, Why do you want to become a hunter? Un Ha lowered her head to look at her feet before whispering slowly, Actually, I just want to live like a normal person. That statement left Un Ha not knowing what to say. Sister. His mind began to panic visibly. Could it be? All this time, even though she couldn't say it, she had wanted to stop relying on him and overcome everything on her own, and he had never realized it. Unlike the perspective of Baek Un Ha, the true thought in Un Ha's heart was really just frustration with a painful reality. How long must the Lord of the Underworld continue to live? Like a useless parasite? However, thanks to her silence, regardless of her mood, Un Ha misunderstood and agreed. All right, then I won't stop you completely anymore. This unexpected approval naturally shocked Un Ha. Really? Before she could say another word, Un Ha pointed at her. But he frowned, acting serious to sound like an adult before slowly speaking up. I have one condition. Time passed, and at the Trainee Hunter Training Center, a national organization established to train hunters. Completing the program would allow one to register as an official hunter. And Un Ha, who suffered from social anxiety, was nervously biting her nails in the center's theory class. As it possible, her feet under the desk wouldn't stop tapping on the floor because her fear kept rising. Suddenly, the professor teaching the class shifted all his attention toward Un Ha. Just as she flusteredly responded out of habit, he raised an eyebrow and asked with a sharp tone, "Can you calm down a little?" The surging tension made Un Ha hurriedly cover her mouth. "I'm sorry." The professor watched the trainee run out of class and could only sigh in frustration. Nauseous again? Just as he said, Un Ha sat on the bathroom floor, retching for a long time, her spirit and body exhausted of vitality, leaving her face visibly pale. "No way, Baek Un Ha. This is impossible. How am I supposed to keep that promise?" Baek Un Ha recalled Baek Un Ha's request. "Sign up for the hunter training course. If you can make 3 friends there, I'll agree to your wish." She clutched her head and covered her ears, unable to utter a single coherent word. Friends? What kind of friends? All I see are sacrifices with negative status effects. The morning was for in-depth theory, terrifying classes for someone like Un Ha who hated studying. The afternoon was for intense sparring matches with combat instructors. They called it an essential course to increase survival rates in dungeons. But because of that, every day that passed was a never-ending cycle of being beaten and bruised along with the others. But the hardest part of all was that she had become notoriously known as the girl who kept throwing up. Every time the sound of retching echoed in the bathroom, the students knew who it was. Un Ha once again remembered Baek Un Ha's condition from back then. "Sign up for the hunter training course, make 3 friends there, and then I will agree to your wish." She painfully buried her face in the table and wailed loudly. "I don't know what to do. How can I possibly make friends in this state? If only this nausea would just disappear." Un Ha suddenly remembered something and hurriedly pulled open her locker drawer. "I have it," her last resort. She stared silently at the ring she had hidden away. Earlier, while Un Ha was busy working at the hotel front desk, Helena had quickly approached her, making her jump in surprise. "Un Ha, I think I should give you a small gift before you go. It will definitely help you." When Un Ha showed curiosity about the ring, "What is this?" Helena excitedly introduced the item with a rare, mysterious tone. "It's a mental stabilization ring. If you wear it and activate it, you will be able to face people normally for 10 minutes every day. However, don't use it again within 24 hours, and you must not exceed the 10-minute limit." The heavy warning made Un Ha flustered. "What will happen if I use it for too long?" Helena didn't give a clear answer but just smiled softly, reeking of a villain. "If you're that curious, would you like to test it yourself? You might just get to see a rather cute side of yourself." That unforgettable memory made Un Ha break out in a cold sweat. Her reaction back then was a bit worrying, so she had tucked it away in the drawer. But now, she was in no position to be picky. Coincidentally, the final week of the training camp would start tomorrow. She feared the thought of Un Ha's disappointed voice. "Have you still not made any friends?" A rare sense of determination surged within her. "Just you wait, Baek Un Ha." And about the friends thing. If she was really serious, she could make friends with 100 people. Yet, on the 3rd day of the training camp, Baek Un Ha stood blankly, staring into the void. The number of friends she had made was still at a big round 0. She was in so much pain she forgot to eat. How exactly is one supposed to make friends? Come to think of it, back when I was in school, I didn't have a single friend. Everyone was terrified of me because I was famous as the neighborhood's mad dog. Have I been living my life the wrong way? Suddenly, Un Ha woke from her trance when she discovered Seo Wu sitting next to her, muttering, "Why is this mackerel so bony?" Un Ha looked at the scene of 3 people sitting around her, chatting happily. Excuse me. Could you two help me debone this fish?" "Just chew the bones. We're busy deboning our own." The members of her group sighed internally. Everyone except her was already close with each other. But this exact moment gave her a strange surge of excitement. "That's it. Now is the time." Un Ha hurriedly slipped the mental stabilization ring onto her hand and stammered, making Seo Wu jump. "I'm sorry." She enthusiastically spoke to those around her. "Un Ha? This is the first time I've seen her take the initiative to talk to someone." She tried to hide her nervousness as she spoke to the other person. "The fish bones, let me help you debone it." Baek Un Ha silently used magic power to debone the fish. While the ring's duration hadn't expired yet, regardless of whether Seo Wu agreed or not. "Don't bother. I was just kidding earlier. The fact that you can use mana to pull out the fish bone perfectly without tearing the meat." Her 3 peers couldn't hide their amazement as they watched the fish bone fly away. Only when it landed in the trash can did they start cheering excitedly. "That's amazing. Is this your ability?" "Baek Un Ha, please help me with mine too." "Baek Un Ha, you're really talented, aren't you?" "Baek Un Ha, if you had a trick like that, you should have shown us sooner." "Park Baek Un Ha, you're actually a very interesting person." The flowery compliments from her fair-weather friends left her not knowing how to react, so she just shyly scratched her head and laughed it off. Yet, deep down, Baek Un Ha had been firing off celebratory fireworks for a while now. "I did it. I actually did it. So this is the first step toward a wonderful social life." The next day, the fourth day of the training camp, the new students were taken to the Hunter Memorial Park as required by the school. The head instructor cleared his throat and lectured the young people below. All right, everyone, quiet down. I'm sure you've often come across this in the news or simple articles. However, the reality is that even today, hunters are still losing their lives in some dungeon out there. Therefore, before we enter the dungeon for our practical training today, we will take a moment here to pay our respects and keep vigilance engraved in our hearts. Baek Un Ha looked at everyone, bowing respectfully in silent prayer all around her, feeling confused and puzzled. A graveyard? There couldn't possibly be any other place as full of death energy as this. That thought had barely finished when a wave of death energy approached her from behind. As soon as the cold, straightforward gaze of Hua In flickered down, Baek Un Ha felt a chill run down her spine and jumped in surprise. She used a unique ability to search for the presence, only to realize that the person was sitting right on top of the memorial monument. A thought raced through Baek Un Ha's brain. What is that? A human? No. Is it a spirit? Can a spirit really emit such a terrifying level of presence? How could that be possible? Baek Un Ha accidentally caught sight of the name Che Hua In neatly carved on that tall monument. Her mind became confused as she thought about the information she knew upon reading that name. Che Hua In. Is she that first-generation S-rank hunter, the one reported to have lost her life during an overseas expedition? If she is a master of that caliber, manifesting a spirit form is completely possible. But what is the reason for her to try this hard to cling to the world of the living? Baek Un Ha was suddenly surprised to see the ring on her finger glowing strangely, leaving her brain endlessly confused. What is this? Why is it reacting like this? I haven't even activated it yet. Suddenly, Huan jumped off her tombstone and lunged toward Baek Un Ha with a speed faster than the wind. While she was still dazed and didn't know what to do, the death energy around her suddenly vanished, leaving behind a small burst of spiritual power that shot straight into Baek Un Ha, pushing her back a fair distance. When two of her friends nearby asked worriedly, "What just happened? Baek Un Ha, are you okay?" She could only grit her teeth against the pain in her rear to respond. "I'm fine. Done." As soon as everyone shifted their attention elsewhere, Baek Un Ha frowned, looking at the blue ring. She went inside the ring? So it even has a function like this. What exactly does she want? I should take this opportunity to study this spirit. A long time passed after that. Taewon, acting as the instructor, quickly had the portal opened and spoke to the students. All right, from now on, this is the final part of our dungeon practical training. This is a low-risk D-rank dungeon, and our instructor team will accompany you, so it will be over quickly. However, due to the large number of students, there might be chaos in maintaining control, so please be careful. As the group began to move into the dungeon, Taewon drew his sword to demonstrate first. He and the other instructors then simultaneously stepped back to let the students show what they could do. A few moments later, when an instructor shouted to announce, "We found the boss room," Taewon lowered his voice to tell the students, "From this point on, only the instructor team will enter to defeat the boss. Students will wait here with the security staff." Seo Woo, being kind-hearted, turned to tell her petite friend, "Baek Un Ha, it's almost over. Try to endure a little longer." She could only tremble in response. "Oh well." Her brain sighed in frustration and muttered, "I'm in such a dilemma because the ring's cooldown hasn't finished yet." As the group of students began to move, Kim Sung-min was the first to speak up. "But isn't something a bit strange?" Just as Seo Woo was puzzled and asked instinctively, "What do you mean?" Kim Sung-min quickly shared his concerns. They say that mana distribution varies depending on the size of the dungeon. The smaller the dungeon, the more concentrated the mana radiating from the boss should be. Yet the mana here has felt so weak the whole time. Hearing that, Seo Woo spoke up hesitantly. "Now that you mention it, I noticed it too." Unlike her, Woo-sun was relatively more direct and nodded in agreement immediately. The instructors said the same thing earlier, although they claimed it wasn't significant enough to cause any disruption. As she finished her sentence, Taewon on the other side just happened to open the mysterious gate. When he and his teammates stepped inside with the aura of being ready to fight, the sight before them left Taewon stunned. He confusingly lowered his sword and spoke into the void. "Empty? A D-rank boss can't possibly be the invisible type." But just as Taewon had finished analyzing that, the ground suddenly shook violently. Baek Un Ha saw the situation was not right and quickly shouted, though she was still stuttering slightly. "What the hell is that?" Some students suddenly yelled out loud. "The door. The instructors are locked in." The fact that both doors had just closed and displayed a golden lock made the students start to feel slightly panicked. While Baek Un Ha was busy wondering to herself, "What's going on? How could the entrance be blocked just because the boss battle started?" Kim Sung-min stepped up to lead the students. "Everyone, don't panic. Quickly get into a defensive stance like Park Baek Un Ha." She had just heard those words and looked confused, wondering what stance she was in. That thing on your shoulder? The confused question made him look confused as well. Isn't that a zombie you summoned? Park Baek Un Ha. She panicked, looking at the battle ant right on her shoulder, and stammered. Who are you? The soft yet distinct question echoed through the dungeon, leaving Kim Sung-min clearly flustered. What was that? He accidentally glanced upward, only to cry out in fear. It's a swarm of monsters. As soon as Kim Sung-min uttered those words, the students felt their skin crawl. A group of war ants appeared, ready to launch a surprise attack. Baek Un Ha, enraged, grabbed the head of the ant on her shoulder and hurled it down the stairs. Under the watchful eyes of her fellow students, Baek Un Ha raised her ring with invisible anticipation. Great, the cooldown is finally over. We need to clear them out. Quick! Baek Un Ha closed her eyes, sensing the waves of death energy swirling within the ring, steadying her spirit. She held that pose for a moment. Then, Baek Un Ha suddenly opened her eyes wide and snorted. As everyone else panicked, unsure of what to do, she gave an order to Sue. Sue, ice magic is your specialty, right? Freeze them solid so they fall. Sue wasn't sure why her attitude had changed so quickly, but she hesitated and followed along. What? Oh, all right. Sue hurriedly activated a spell at the tip of her staff, then gently released the burst of power, freezing the group of ants and causing them to crash to the ground. Kim Sung-min stared blankly at the chaotic battlefield, forgetting to even breathe. He didn't forget to observe Baek Un Ha watching him silently from afar. Kim Sung-min's brain raced, trying to figure out how he could step up and lead the others. Everyone, deal with the fallen monsters and pile them up in front of Baek Un Ha, as intact as possible. Long-range classes, shoot at the other ceilings just like Sue did. This initiative from the other side was surprisingly in sync with his own. Baek Un Ha, right? That girl's name is Baek Un Ha. They say she's the top trainee. She really read my intentions, quickly neutralizing the monsters and maximizing the number of usable corpses. And that meant this battlefield would allow Baek Un Ha to unleash her talents to their fullest potential. She excitedly held up her mana stone and said firmly, "Summon Undead." The bodies of the fallen war ants began to tremble as they were touched by death energy. While the other students were still confused by the thick, swirling death aura, Baek Un Ha had acquired an elite squad of war ants without breaking a sweat. Under the curious gazes of her classmates, she frowned and ordered, "Take them out." The undead war ants, upon hearing that command, dove toward their former comrades almost immediately. At the same time, Taiwan was frantically hacking at the sealed gate, but seeing that his efforts yielded no results, he muttered in frustration, "Damn it, they won't even budge." Suddenly, a stiff voice echoed from outside. "Instructors, is everyone in there all right?" That inquiry naturally stunned Taiwan. This voice, it's the trainee, Kim Sung-min. "It seems we've fallen into a trap. This isn't a boss room. More importantly, I hear something. What's it like out there?" When he reported timidly, the monsters appeared. Tae-won was so shocked he shouted, "Monsters." Kim Sung-min tried to summarize the situation as quickly as possible. "Yes, but we've taken care of them and have the situation under control for now." He tried to process everything in a rush before sighing and replying, "I see. Since they are D-rank monsters, if you work together with the security personnel, unfortunately, until this very second," Kim Sung-min dropped the crucial information. "The security personnel have also been trapped by a barrier, so we trainees had to handle it ourselves, naturally." Hearing this new development, Taewon couldn't hide his surprise and shouted, "What?" He cleared his throat before slowly explaining, "We've scouted the surrounding area, but there is a path right next to this entrance. Under the current circumstances, it's a path only we trainees can pass through." Taewon's mind quickly triggered its first warnings. "I have a feeling this dungeon is luring inexperienced rookies in just to swallow them whole. I've never heard of anything like this happening in a D-rank dungeon." But regardless of the truth, he still had to express his thoughts straightforwardly and concisely. "This is entirely our fault. But we have no other choice. If we wait until we are all ejected due to a dungeon break, we might be able to take down the boss outside." As soon as Kim Sung-min heard this plan, he hurriedly raised his voice in opposition. "No, you can't. There might be civilian casualties. Instead of that, we should go kill the boss." Tae-won suddenly lowered his voice to pressure him. "Trainee Kim Sung-min, even if you've managed to put up a good fight against the monsters, as long as you are trainees, your status is no different from the civilians we must protect. Right now, dealing with it outside after the dungeon break is the best way to minimize damage." At that moment, Jia couldn't help but chime in. "Shouldn't we trust them? They've already experienced real combat once, and with their current skill sets, a D-rank boss shouldn't be a problem. Furthermore, we are the ones who taught them to realize they are hunters before they are trainees." It was Jia's well-intentioned reminder that helped Tae-won clear his head enough to confirm the change in plans. "Understood. Then, choose an elite squad to go kill the boss. With no commander in the current situation, a small group would be better. Kim Sung-min naturally understood that the other party was pointing him in the right direction, so he responded immediately. Yes, I understand. He didn't even turn around, just cleared his throat and yelled out, Everyone, from now on, we will choose a few people among us to go kill the boss. Anyone willing to join the raid, please raise your hand. A moment later, only Baek Un Ha and Sue volunteered, making Kim Sung-min feel slightly frustrated. 3 people, including myself. He scanned the group around him and spoke slowly to put the students at ease. No other choice, I guess. They were likely panicking since this was their first real-life combat, and there are also some people with minor injuries. Even though he said that, Kim Sung-min couldn't help but add a few more words. Still, if we had just one more person, it would be much better. As luck would have it, his eyes accidentally caught Baek Un Ha, who was resting near the ants nearby. While she was irritably lost in thought, muttering, This place is full of stat-reducing sacrifices. Just let me go home. I want to play games. Kim Sung-min's booming voice suddenly echoed in her ears. It startled Baek Un Ha so much she began to stutter. Yes, he walked toward her, reaching out his hand to express his request. I think we're going to need your help. And just like that, a 4-person team was hurriedly assembled. The reason Kim Sung-min chose Baek Un Ha was simple. She was the strongest, and because of the usefulness of the undead Baek Un Ha could create. Those undead, capable of acting as both punching bags and combatants, were the optimal choice to protect rookies like them right now. Even if the undead were destroyed, it wasn't a problem. If Kim Sung-min's group could take down exhausted monsters, Baek Un Ha's forces would be replenished immediately. This led to the bizarre reality that the 4-person team grew their undead headcount the more they fought, so much so that, at one point, Kim Sung-min couldn't even see where Baek Un Ha was. Baek Un Ha, wouldn't it be better if you stayed closer to us? Being suddenly questioned like that made her scramble to explain, I prefer this distance. Choi Song-choi, hearing Baek Un Ha's shaky response, grumbled in frustration. Seriously, why did you bring along such an annoying brat? That tactless remark naturally offended her, but she didn't want to voice it. Did he even know who was helping him breeze through this? Forget it. She finally had some space to herself, so she should stop paying attention to him. Now that the ring's effect had worn off, this distance was just right. Baek Un Ha was so busy thinking that she didn't pay attention to her surroundings and accidentally walked face first into the butt of the person in front of her. What the? Why did you stop all of a sudden? Her indignant shouting quickly ceased when Kim Sung-min said, Look over there. He tried to lower his voice as much as possible to discuss with the group. That looks like a boss room. A moment later, before it was clear if they had even settled on a strategy, Kim Sung-min boldly opened the gate. They quickly spotted a powerful figure in the distance. The dungeon boss had finally revealed itself to the 4 of them. While Kim Sung-min still felt wary of the sight before him, Choi Song-choi was relatively excited, letting his arrogance take over. What is this? It looks so small. Isn't it just some pathetic weakling? He grabbed his 2 axes and charged headfirst. Let's finish this quickly and get out of here. This made Kim Sung-min shout out in alarm. Wait, Choi Song-choi. Unfortunately, he didn't listen and lunged forward, slashing the boss twice. The scent of blood filled the air, driving Choi Song-choi into a frenzy. Look at this. It can't even fight back anymore. When he saw the boss showing signs of being unable to resist, Choi Song-choi poured all his strength into his dominant hand, raised his axe, and quickly brought it down toward the boss's head. Die. Unexpectedly, it used a teleportation spell, making Choi Song-choi's ferocious attack completely miss its mark. While he stood there, bewildered and looking around. What the? Where did it go? Stop hiding and come out. A bolt of magical lightning silently appeared right behind Choi Song-choi. Before he could detect the anomaly, that bolt of lightning struck him. Choi Song-choi's scream blended with a thunderous explosion. The sight naturally turned Kim Sung-min pale. Choi Song-choi. Even Jia couldn't hide her fear and frustration. That idiot. Meanwhile, Baek Un Ha just kept a cold expression, harboring contempt in her heart. Is he a moron? He rushed in and yelled lines like a third-rate side character, so he easily fell for the illusion trap and ended up swinging his axe at thin air. But it seemed his stamina really was durable. He survived that blow. Besides, thanks to that attack, Baek Un Ha realized one thing. That thing was definitely not a D-rank boss. The moment the boss unleashed its lightning magic, leaving Choi Song-choi to suffer the physical pain caused by his own stupidity, he still stubbornly held on, waiting for the torture to pass. This only made the boss angrier, charging the opponent with an even more powerful spell. As Kim Sung-min started to get worried and began to probe, Baek Un Ha, is it not time yet? At this rate, Choi Song-choi Baek Un Ha had no intention of hearing the rest of what he was going to say, so she hurriedly responded, her voice trembling. He'll be fine. Just wait a little longer. As soon as she finished speaking, her brain went into overdrive. Choi Song-choi is the only one who can take those hits. If we interfere, we'll be turned to dust instantly. Right now, we need to use him to figure out the boss's attack pattern. At the same time, Choi Song-choi, having endured another wave of the boss's attacks, couldn't help but roar. Damn it. Why are all of you just standing there watching? Get in here and help me fight. Baek Un Ha didn't feel angry at all, just awkwardly looked away. Perhaps he should be watching his back instead. That well-meaning reminder made Choi Song-choi look behind him in confusion. What? The fact that he had been attacked so violently by the magic circle that he was knocked from his spot allowed Baek Un Ha, even though she was still scared, to figure out the problem. She quickly deduced the mechanics, hurrying while no one was paying attention. This magic structure consists of sacrifices on top of the pillars and a magic circle on the floor. Right? I think I've figured out the key to it. Having found the way, Baek Un Ha suddenly stepped forward. All right, that's enough. I'll handle the rest. This unexpected move naturally left Kim Sung-min and Jia looking confused. What? Suddenly, Choi Song-choi unexpectedly grabbed her leg, which startled Baek Un Ha. Contrary to everyone's imagination, even though he was in a mangled state, he could still spout insults. You bitch! You used me as bait. Baek Un Ha wasn't even annoyed. She let out a sarcastic laugh and used her stuttering to tease him. How pathetic. This naturally made Choi Song-choi incredibly furious. You daw, he finally passed out right after spitting those words. As his two companions looked at him with concern, Choi Song-choi, he's fainted. Baek Un Ha quietly stepped into the unfinished battlefield with one thought in mind. Don't feel too bitter. Choi Song-choi, you just accomplished something even your mother couldn't do, you know? That boss was too arrogant because it was on its own turf. It didn't even consider the possibility of losing, but it picked the wrong opponent. Baek Un Ha slowly brought out a magic stone to channel its power and commanded, recover soul. With those words, the necrotic energy was ripped right out of the zombies. It swirled through the air for a moment before returning to the magic stone in her hand. Once the magic stone was fully charged with death energy, she slowly stepped into the boss's summoning circle. In the blink of an eye, both sides were ready, and the boss struck first. Its surge of power instantly triggered the offerings on the surrounding pillars. Baek Un Ha wasn't afraid in the slightest. She activated her magic stone immediately. Not so fast. Soul release. At her command, the spirits swarmed out from every direction. They destroyed the offerings with surgical precision, leaving the boss visibly rattled. Meanwhile, Baek Un Ha coolly remarked, So, has it been fun playing pretend as a sorcerer all this time? She snapped her fingers to activate the stone, summoning the dwarf ants. Almost instantly, the boss found itself swarmed by a vicious horde. While it shrieked in frantic, desperate panic, Baek Un Ha let a smug smile spread across her face. You really should have known when to stop showing off, don't you think? Standing before the original soul-calling sorcerer, she thought, Now, how should I deal with you? But just as she thought that, she saw the boss suddenly toss its staff aside. It clutched its head and began to tremble, leaving Baek Un Ha baffled. Oh my god, what is wrong with this thing? It turned out the boss was so afraid of being turned against, it used a strengthening spell on itself, causing its muscles to swell to an absurd size. A split second later, Baek Un Ha found herself facing the boss in its massive, hulking form. It's growing? I didn't account for this. The moment the boss brought its hand down, Baek Un Ha screamed in terror, her feet frozen to the spot. Luckily, Kim Sung-min dove into the fray just in time to save her. He rushed to ask if she was okay, completely ignoring the intense danger of the situation. Baek Un Ha, are you all right? Even while feeling the warmth of his concern, Baek Un Ha couldn't help but burst into tears. I thought I was going to die. The boss prepared to crush them, but it suddenly sensed someone sneaking up behind it. As it whipped around, Jia called out, Hey, you mindless lizard. With Jia distracting the boss, Kim Sung-min moved Baek Un Ha to safety before giving her instructions. Baek Un Ha, stick with Choi Song-choi. Jia and I will handle the rest. She watched his back fade into the distance, panicked. What? No way. If you die, my plan to make friends goes down the drain. That forced Baek Un Ha to quickly call out to Kim Sung-min. Her voice was small, but he still heard her clearly and turned back. What is it? Under his intense gaze, Baek Un Ha stammered out her true feelings. No, don't go over there. You don't have to fight it head-on. Just lure it from a distance. That way, you two just need to stall for time. Whatever Kim Sung-min thought, he suddenly flashed a confident grin, as if to say he actually had a secret plan. Understood. His sudden, lightning-fast charge left Baek Un Ha puzzled. I don't know why Kim Sung-min trusts me so much, but right now, I have no choice but to live up to that expectation. All I have left are 5 dwarf ants and a half-depleted magic stone. Dwarf ants don't have higher evolution forms, so it's time to use the creative skills of a soul sorcerer. Baek Un Ha lowered her voice and channeled magic from the stone to summon the dead. She watched the vortex of energy consume the ants, feeling strangely calm. This self-modification technique is so dangerous that even normal soul sorcerers wouldn't dare try it. But to me, a freak famous even in the Underworld, that doesn't matter. Because a freak like Baek Un Ha can easily create new creatures without putting much strain on her body. Meanwhile, Kim Sun-min nervously watched the monster wind up a new attack. Watch out, Jia. Suddenly, a pair of strange pincers appeared, clamping onto the boss's massive arm tightly enough to tear it right off. The monstrous roar made even the exhausted Kim Sun-min ask in confusion, what was that? Baek Un Ha looked at the giant monster she'd just created and muttered excitedly, "What should I name you?" "All right, Noon, go crush that thing into dust for me." The boss didn't understand her words, but the way she pointed at it was so insulting that it lunged at her immediately. The problem was, the moment the boss started its attack, the Dinopaneza appeared and clamped its arms shut. Its relentless nature was obvious as it tore off 2 of the boss's limbs in quick succession. The surging pain left the boss screaming in agony, but the Dinopaneza didn't intend to let it go. It tossed the boss into the air. Before the beast could even realize what was happening, the creature delivered a finishing blow right through its chest. The scene was so gruesome that even Baek Un Ha shuddered. "We did it. Finally, I can go home." Suddenly, a status window popped up, making her blink in confusion. Baek Un Ha's eyes scanned it quickly, her initial bewilderment shifting to pure joy. After that, everything ended in a flash. As soon as the boss was defeated, the dungeon barrier vanished, and everyone made it out safely. Still, there were many injuries, so nearly half the interns had to be hospitalized, including plenty of experienced ones, who ended up there because of reckless idiots like that jerk Choi Song-choi. Unlike his sorry state, Baek Un Ha received an award at a graduation ceremony attended by only half the students, but her mind was on something much more important. Finally, my level up has appeared. 2 weeks after graduation, Kim Sun-min and his 2 friends visited Baek Un Ha's house, only to freeze when someone opened the door. "Hello? Oh my god! Baek Un Ha's family member is an A-rank hunter." Baek Un Ha's sister was excited to meet her siblings' friends for the first time, acting almost like a doting mother. "Welcome everyone. You're all in the same party as my sister, right?" Seo Yoon and Woo Sun exclaimed in excitement upon this new discovery. "That's so cool. I'm a huge fan." Baek Un Ha had never mentioned this, so they had absolutely no idea. Baek Un Ha, hearing that, awkwardly explained, "My sister isn't the type to go around talking about herself." Still, her sister didn't forget to call out to the protagonist. "Baek Un Ha, your friends are here. Are you really going to keep your face buried in that game?" With one ear, Baek Un Ha heard the game world calling to her. With the other, she heard her sisters yelling and thought, "They're here already? I'm in the middle of something very important." The reason for this strange home visit was that, after having to beg the teammates Baek Un Ha had only just met, somehow you managed to pass Seo Ha's little friend verification test. "All right, you've worked hard, and the friends you brought today seem decent enough. I'll allow you to register as a hunter." That statement naturally filled Un Ha with nothing but joy. "Really?" As she saw how happy the other person was, she cleared her throat to remind her of the most important thing. "But if you fail the registration exam, don't come crying to me later. Got it?" She awkwardly scratched her head and nodded like an obedient girl. "Got it." Even though she looked obedient on the outside, Un Ha couldn't help but inwardly celebrate in advance. Did the girl really think she would fail? She was a seasoned rookie who had already survived dungeons several times, and she was the lord of the Underworld, slowly regaining her power. As if she'd fail. The day of the all-important registration exam arrived. The examiner's voice echoed everywhere. "Those who need to measure their mana, please line up here. A score of 250 is passing. 470 pass. Next, 357 pass." Having to wait in a crowded space, Baek Un Ha started to feel uneasy. Why are there so many people wanting to be hunters? Just go home, lie down, and scratch your bellies. After a long while, she was finally pointed at by the examiner. "All right, next one. Please come in. Please stand in front of this device, spread your arms wide, and hold the pose." Un Ha nervously followed the instructions for the energy detector. The examiner looked at the numbers jumping on the machine and couldn't hide his surprise. "This is Baek Un Ha, 253 points. You barely passed by just 3 points." As that awkward announcement came out, Un Ha heard laughter behind her and clenched her fists in frustration. "Don't laugh, you idiots. I'll turn you all into zombies. You know that?" "Huh?" Suddenly, a loud noise grabbed her attention. 900. 900 points. That's the highest score recorded to date. A familiar sight left Un Ha stunned. Her brain started racing to process the situation. Choi Song-choi. Was he out of the hospital already? Was that his score? Suddenly, at that very moment, by some stroke of bad luck, Un Ha heard his sarcastic remark. To think you consider yourself human, with only 253 points. That brat's attitude, really. That nasty attitude triggered her crazy mode to a whole new level. That bastard, he just smirked at her, didn't he? He definitely smirked at her, right? She made up her mind. Today, she wouldn't care about anything else, but for Choi Song-choi specifically, she would crush that brat's pride right here and now. A long time passed after the machine test, and all the candidates who passed were led to a large room for the second part of the exam. Now, we will begin measuring combat power. Please use the skill you are most confident in to attack the barrier facing the measuring device. Your hunter rank will be decided by combining this result with your mana measurement. As soon as the first person stepped forward to challenge themselves 291 points, final rank E. Others started moving forward to show off. 310 points, final rank E. Each used a different method, but the machine wasn't even scratched. 460 points, final rank D. Un Ha stood silently, observing the noisy scene below. The highest rank a rookie hunter could receive was D. It seemed like almost everyone was only getting rank E, until the examiner called out, "Next person, please come in." Song-choi appeared on the stage, carrying his pair of slightly flimsy battle axes. Whispers spread quickly. That's the guy who got 900 points in the mana test earlier. Is that really Choi Song-choi? I wonder how strong he is in actual combat. Song-choi took a deep breath to focus, and his body automatically swung the axes. As he struck the testing machine hard, cheers began to ring out across the room. 82 points, top of mid-tier rank D. However, Un Ha didn't think much of it and silently made a dismissive comment to herself. He just looks like he's showing off. Kim Sung-min is way cooler. Suddenly, she realized Song-choi was looking up at her. He gave her a clear look of contempt as he stared into her eyes, making her incredibly annoyed. That bastard, he's been doing that this whole time. Luckily, the examiner suddenly announced something, cutting off their silent staring contest. "Beck, please get ready." As soon as she stepped onto the stage, she heard the whispers. "That's the one with the lowest score from earlier, right? What is she planning to do right after that?" Her pent-up frustration grew, causing her to snort in annoyance. "I can hear all of you, you little brats. Do you think I came here without preparing?" Fortunately, her emotional stabilization ring suddenly glowed, helping Un Ha calm down. "Okay, my mind is calm now. My mana might be pathetic, but my physical strength has improved since I awakened, and I can generate a bit of inner energy myself. Breaking a barrier like this won't take any effort at all." While Baek Un Ha was getting into position, the observers around her started to notice something was off. "What is that? Her sword is turning black. That's not mana." She didn't hear them, remaining calm as she leaned into her stance. Un Ha swung her sword gently, and the glowing red barrier shattered into 100 pieces. The magnificent sight left everyone present speechless. What? The barrier? Even the examiners, who had witnessed many special cases, were stunned for a long time. A while later, the examiner stammered out the announcement, "Baek Un Ha, 2,192 points. You've set a new record." Un Ha looked at the dumbfounded expressions of those around her, especially Song-choi, letting her mind silently mock him. "See that, you little brats? Basically, I'm operating on a completely different level." She quietly directed a final comment toward her foolish enemy. "Loser." The harsh truth laid out before him left Song-choi speechless. That sight easily helped Un Ha feel relaxed. Look at his face. Served him right. I'll have a really good night's sleep tonight. Time passed, and she slowly woke up to the urgent cries of Baek Un Ha. "Sister, sister, Un Ha." When she opened her mouth to ask out of instinct, Baek Un Ha's soft voice turned into a tone of relief. "You're awake?" Un Ha sat up abruptly, gasping as if she had just gone through a nightmare. What happened? I clearly remember going to the registration exam. Was it all just a dream?" The panicked look on her face made Un Ha sigh, whispering, "Sister, don't you remember what just happened? When you show off how clueless you are, wait. What?" Baek Un Ha sighed, looking exhausted as he brought up the past again. She came home bragging about how well she did on her exam, even humming happily. Then, all of a sudden, she started screaming in her room, sobbing and acting out like a drunkard. Un Ha then started mimicking Un Ha's voice from back then to make the story more vivid. "Please be nice to me. Don't leave me. You brat, do you think you're so smart?" Un Ha sighed, remembering the moment her sister was so vulnerable. "I seriously thought you had been drinking in the middle of the day." Thanks to that heavy sigh, Un Ha remembered the scene she had made earlier. Come to me. Even a sweet death, won't she couldn't forget her sister's awkward clinging while putting up with her at the time. Stop it. The neighbors are going to complain about the noise. Her exhausted brain quickly went into overdrive to explain that event, which was more like a possession than anything else. Right, I remember now. I was so excited about the exam results that I forgot to take off the ring, and I panicked when I realized it after getting home. Is that why Helena told me not to wear it for more than 10 minutes? Sioha looked confusedly at her sister's bright red face and immediately changed the subject. Anyway, you're okay now, right? Let's go out for dinner. A while later, after washing her face, Un Ha looked excitedly at the huge lobster sitting right on the table. The fragrant aroma noticeably softened her voice. Why is there lobster all of a sudden? Sioha didn't hesitate to speak her mind, saying she had worked hard today. But sister, did you really rank first in Class D? It's rare enough for a rookie to even reach Class D. Her sister's blunt skepticism wounded Un Ha's pride. I told you it's true. That level is just child's play for the Lord of the Underworld. Sioha watched her sister happily peeling the lobster meat, her heart sinking without her even realizing it. Even though I'm still worried about letting her go out into the world, I didn't expect her to do so well. Maybe everything she says isn't just an escape from reality, but actually. Just as that thought appeared, she was snapped back to reality by Un Ha's noisy exclamation. Look at this. A lobster armor. Now I can even do things like this too. Isn't it cool? That clumsy display shattered the cool image Sioha had been building up for her. She silently sighed in despair. It seemed that not only had her sister's appearance become more youthful, but her personality had too, leaving her confused and tilting her head in wonder. What's wrong? Do you not like it? After a delicious dinner, Sioha slowly sipped some tea to seriously open the conversation. So, what are you planning to do from now on? But Un Ha just answered blankly with a loud hiccup. About what? Sioha immediately raised her voice in frustration. Obviously, the hunter job, the hunter work, she replied nonchalantly without thinking much. What do you mean? You're just going to keep raiding dungeons by yourself? As soon as she heard that, Sioha bluntly pointed out the flaw in her sister's reasoning. That's not an answer. Don't tell me you don't know that forming a party is mandatory unless you have a B-rank hunter with you. Like I said before, you're definitely going to struggle with that kind of setup. So, sister, have you come up with any solutions yet? Un Ha couldn't avoid this issue. She looked away, annoyed. The fewer people, the better, right? But it's not like I know any B-rank hunters. How am I supposed to find a solution? Suddenly, a name popped into her head, and her eyes lit up. Un Ha clearly expressed her thought to Sioha. I do. A B-rank person to form a party with. The other's overconfidence left her dumbfounded. Who is that? Sometime later, on a stormy day, Song Ha walked alone on a deserted path. She looked at the text messages between herself and Un Ha. Go up the mountain trail. I'm waiting under the oak tree. Yes, I'm on my way. Song Ha couldn't help but sigh to release the nervousness in her heart, but the anxiety still kept creeping in, making her palms sweaty. This time, it has to be correct. This is a direct message from my master. I'm finally going to meet them in person. What kind of person will they be? It turned out Helena wasn't the master after all, and based on the tone of the texts, the master sounded like a man. What if it's an attractive foreign guy? Her vivid imagination easily sent Song Ha's mind into a tailspin. A while later, she suddenly felt a surge of doubt. But why did they tell me to come all the way up this mountain path? Do they live around here? Song Ha took a few more steps, and the thought made her freeze. She compared the scene before her eyes with the message she had received. Found it. That big oak tree. They must be right there. Seeing a vague figure behind the tree, Song Ha ran over excitedly. Master, is that you? Her eyes were brimming with excitement, and she couldn't stop her mouth from running. It's me, Song Ha. Before she could stop talking, seeing the unusually small stature of the person she had called master for so long, Song Ha stood stunned at Un Ha's fragile, trembling appearance. Why is there a child here? Master said they had arrived already. A confusing feeling welled up, forcing her to ask awkwardly, Are you the master's child, or are you an acquaintance of theirs? She quickly shook her head to give her answer. That image made Song Ha's brain jump to a conclusion immediately. Then don't tell me. She accidentally let her inner thoughts slip out. As expected of the master, I never imagined they could create a high-level undead that looks exactly like a human. That strange line of reasoning easily pushed Un Ha's annoyance to a new level. How did you reach that conclusion? I can't believe you don't even recognize your own master. That frustrated muttering left Song Ha completely bewildered. Wait, so are you actually the master? That polite question quickly caught Un Ha's attention. After that strange introduction, the two had a conversation on the way down the mountain. I already explained it in the message earlier, because this is something you desperately need. That's right. I just need to convince your family to agree to us forming a party, right? But I never imagined the master would be this cute. How can someone look so much like a doll? Stop getting so close. Un Ha closed her eyes, thinking of all sorts of things, feeling quite annoyed. But I have to endure it. To Un Ha, all of this was part of the plan to enter the dungeon with the minimum number of people. Song Ha was already a genuine B-rank hunter. I've been teaching her for free all this time, so it's only fair to ask for a small favor in return now. Ha, overjoyed, kept firing off armor-related questions. By the way, what is the master's family like? Let me tell you first so you know. Her parents didn't notice Un Ha's dark, stunned expression. She really should have remembered to put on that ring. Who knows how much time had passed? Seo Ha and Song Ha bumped into each other right at Un Ha's doorway and froze in their tracks. Un Ha stood awkwardly between them, raising an eyebrow at the confusion. Un Ha kept darting her gaze back and forth between the two living statues, feeling her bewilderment grow. Why were they both reacting like that? Suddenly, Song Ha broke the silence. Master, is your family relative Seo Ha? When Un Ha asked back in a daze, didn't I tell you that? She shouted in frustration. Not at all, even though I've always told you that I'm her biggest fan. Before Un Ha could even recover, it was Baek Seo Ha's turn to start questioning. Big sister, if your gaming friend is Song Ha, you should have told me sooner. She's one of the most promising young talents in the industry right now. Even our guild is trying to recruit her. Un Ha stood stunned, watching the two girls excitedly chatting away. Anyway, come on in, everyone. Sorry for the trouble, she said, while internally questioning herself. Am I the only villain here? As soon as they were settled on the couch, Baek Seo Ha and Song Ha quickly ignored Un Ha to chat with each other. This world is so small. I never expected this to be related to you, big sister. Seriously, it's wild. It didn't take long for them to shake off the initial awkwardness. Both were high-level hunters and had plenty in common. Baek Seo Ha suddenly cleared her throat to change the subject. Now, let's get down to business, shall we? How far can you go on your own? What's the strongest monster you can defeat by yourself? The shift from cheerful to serious caught Song Ha off guard, leaving her blank-faced. After her brain processed the questions, she stammered. If it's something like a B4 venom spider, while Seo Ha muttered seriously, that's a bit weak. Song Ha hurriedly added more info to ensure she didn't miss this golden opportunity. If I really push myself, I can take down a crystal wolf, which is one tier stronger. Un Ha, having nothing to do, watched her student and sister, silently venting. Since when did you become the interviewer? Then Baek Seo Ha kept firing off a barrage of questions. Un Ha understood that she wanted to entrust her to the most reliable person possible, but at a certain point, the conversation took a complete turn. Baek Seo Ha asked seriously, all right, what should I do if a conflict arises? Song Ha thought hard for a moment and answered immediately. First, block their line of sight and let me draw their attention. And wait, what was that about just now? As soon as she asked for help, she responded in detail. To maintain control of the situation, the big sister will shut down if someone puts even the slightest pressure on her, so don't let anyone get the upper hand. When the corner of her eye twitches and her expression changes a bit, it means she's unhappy or has something to say. What on earth is she doing? In those situations, be quick to notice and resolve the issue for her. If you can follow everything I just said, then I'll agree to let the two of you form a party. Song Ha, entrusted with the master watching mission, nodded enthusiastically. Yes, leave it to me. And so, the breathtaking three-way meeting finally ended. After leaving, Song Ha finally dared to text Baek Un Ha. Today was really fun. I learned a lot more about Master. So, Master is really one of the returnees who appear on TV, when her counterpart replied with a short message. That's right, she couldn't help but sigh. No wonder Master's knowledge of necromancy is so deep, even though she only recently became a hunter. Without knowing it, Song Ha sent a heartfelt message. It must have been very difficult to lose your power and have to live like that all this time. Un Ha didn't care much about that, so she gently replied, I've found a clue now, and that's enough. As she continued to express her feelings as the master's favorite disciple, I will definitely help you. She just sent a short reply. You've got a silver tongue, don't worry. After finishing the chat with her student, Un Ha threw herself onto the warm bed. All right, starting tomorrow, it's a non-stop dungeon grinding spree. Her brain began to formulate a strategy for the future. Once she leveled up by dungeon diving, regaining her strength was just a matter of time. One day, she would be able to summon undead minions and use the Underworld's seals again. So, the real question she needed to reconsider was exactly who had sealed her power. The more time passed, the more she was convinced that someone had intentionally interfered. Could it be Sheja? No, there's no way someone from that world, let alone a mediocre entity, could bind her power. Then the only realities capable of doing that could be Un Ha suddenly sat up because the vague thought kept circling in her mind. The beautiful night sky outside somehow didn't make her feel any better, knowing that someone somewhere on Earth was responsible. Where on earth is that reckless fool hiding? Once I find them, the first thing I'll do is turn them into a zombie. Although Baek Un Ha had made a bold decision to start her hunter activities, it would still take a few more days before she actually stepped into a dungeon. And of course, under Song Ha's attentive care. Master, this dungeon is too weak, that dungeon is too far. If she kept rejecting every option, naturally, they weren't going to get anywhere. If you stopped nagging, we could have cleared 3 dungeons by now. Un Ha, hearing those reproaches, awkwardly snapped, "Quiet. Keep nagging and I'll expel you from the school." Suddenly, just as she said that, she started to feel nauseous. The sound of her retching made Song Ha panic. "There's a bag right there. Use it." A while later, the car stopped as guided by the navigation system. "You have arrived at your destination." Guidance ended. Un Ha wearily crawled out of the car like a dead sardine. "I almost died." A thought flashed through Song Ha's head just before she could catch her breath. But her pathetic state would end here. "Once we enter the dungeon, you'll be amazed. Song Ha, as your master, I will show you my dignity once again." Before she could even calm down, Song Ha stepped out of the car to look around. "Let's see. The hunter registration office must be." Song Ha's words were quickly cut short by the appearance of a tall security guard. "I'm sorry. I am extremely sorry. However, if you forgot to bring your hunter license, we cannot allow you to enter." Song Ha, who had just geared up, raised an eyebrow and asked, "Master Un Ha, did you really leave it at home?" She frantically rummaged through her bag. No sooner had she pulled out a mana stone than she shoved it back to keep looking for the license. A few seconds later, Baek Un Ha panicked and flicked a Coca-Cola bottle cap onto the ground, causing it to bounce toward the guard. This awkward self-destruct moment earned her a skeptical look from Song Ha, and she had to head back to retrieve the license. The car ride back wasn't very peaceful either. As she cried for ages, her pride deeply wounded. "Where did my majestic master go?" A while later, as soon as they entered the dungeon, Song Ha put her hands on her hips and nagged like a mother. "See, what did I tell you, master? I kept telling you that you absolutely need the certificate before entering." Un Ha knew she was in the wrong and stammered back. "All right, I get it. Can you stop now? We're already inside, aren't we?" Suddenly, a crisp sound echoed, like claws hitting the ground. While Un Ha was still busy grumbling about being scolded earlier, "Goodness, why do they keep hounding us?" Song Ha immediately switched into defensive mode because of the sound. The sound came from the Grey Wolves. She faltered slightly when she saw there were far more enemies than she had anticipated. Un Ha tried to swallow her nausea to give instructions to her student. "For now, try summoning one of each type you can use at the moment and try fighting them." Regardless of how skeptical Song Ha looked, thinking, "Isn't that a bit overkill for dealing with a Grey Wolf?" she still decided to follow her master's lead. "Stop arguing and do as I say." She quickly accepted the request and pulled out the summoning stones. "Okay." Song Ha tried to steady herself as she cast the stones to the ground. As soon as the familiar command "Rise" left her lips, a wave of death energy erupted into a massive vortex between the two sides. Just a split second later, her 3 skeleton units officially appeared on the battlefield. Seeing that, the Alpha Grey Wolf let out a roar, ordering the whole pack to swarm the skeletons. One Vanguard Wolf lunged forward, snapping its jaws onto the warrior skeleton's wrist. Unfortunately for it, the warrior skeleton nonchalantly swiped its sword, slicing through the wolf in an instant. At the same time, the giant skeleton ignored the wolves climbing all over it, focusing solely on the Alpha in front. The giant skeleton quickly swung its fist toward the Alpha's face, and without holding back, slammed that fist straight into the ground. The Alpha Grey Wolf was wiped out instantly, unable to even let out a final word. Song Ha looked at the giant skeleton as it lifted its hand and excitedly asked, "Un Ha, how was that? They're pretty strong, right?" Unexpectedly, she received blunt criticism. Quite crude, no foundation at all, completely lacking basics, which made her so frustrated she hissed, "Then why don't you show me how it's done, master?" Upon hearing that, Un Ha hurriedly retreated to the side. Fine, stop shouting. First, disperse what you just summoned." Song Ha quickly dismissed her undead, leaving the stage for Un Ha to shine. She looked at the remains of the Grey Wolf pack and silently thought to herself, "Watch closely." Un Ha showed that when creating undead, there's no need to rush, even if the target is far away. Un Ha waited until the Vanguard Wolf lunged at her head. She quickly unleashed her death energy. She didn't forget to remind herself of the trick. The most important thing is to fill the core. That deliberate action easily helped Un Ha take down the wolf without wasting much energy. This made her smile excitedly. "Rise." As soon as the words left her mouth, the body of the unfortunate wolf suddenly erupted into a fierce undead beast. The undead wolf rushed into the enemy lines without waiting for an order, using its claws to dispose of the wolves blocking its path. Following that, the last remnants of the gray wolf pack fell one by one. None of them could turn the tide. They all collapsed, leaving only the undead wolf standing tall on the battlefield. That somewhat terrifying scene naturally excited Song Ha to no end. Oh my god, was that really just tier 1 death energy? The other's excessive excitement triggered Unha's social anxiety. I told you to stop shouting. You're wasting too much death energy, even when using a catalyst. Try focusing on filling the head or the heart first. Those are the core parts. That way, you can fight just as effectively while using much smaller catalysts. Baek Un Ha looked at the beautiful number 2 on her stat board and spoke with immense confidence. And I'm not tier 1. I just leveled up. At the same time, the security guard outside yawned loudly, clearly bored. 2 hours had passed since the hunters went inside. Surely it would be a long time before they came out. Maybe I should just leave the rookie here and go grab a bite to eat. No sooner had he said that than Song Ha's voice echoed throughout the space. Master, why wouldn't you let me handle even one monster? Baek Un Ha walked out of the dungeon, clearing her throat to reply immediately. Because you were too slow. The blunt criticism from her master left her feeling a bit hurt. Has Master ever thought that maybe it's because you're unreasonably fast? The security guard quickly stood up straight, rushing over when the confusion began to overwhelm him. Excuse me, sorry to bother you. Did you two clear it already? Song Ha replied calmly. Oh, well, I saw you two coming out, so I assumed it was cleared. The experienced guard was so shocked he nearly missed a breath. No way. Even for a small rank D dungeon, a team of 4 usually takes at least 6 hours. But this was only the beginning. Afterward, Un Ha and Song Ha went on to clear every small dungeon in the area, and every single time, they set shockingly fast dungeon clearing records. Passers-by would gather to whisper as soon as they saw them walk past. Is that them? The ones becoming famous on the forums? That speed-clearing duo? Isn't one of them Song Ha, the rank B hunter? Aren't they just carrying a rookie through low-level dungeons? Even so, clearing them in 2 hours was still completely absurd. Un Ha didn't show much emotion, but she couldn't help but raise an eyebrow and think to herself. I heard every single word. You idiots. It seems like Song Ha is starting to make a name for herself in this industry. Doesn't feel too bad, actually. After a month on the job, her level had gone up quite a bit. She was already at level 17, and Baek Un Ha was getting used to dealing with Song Ha. She had perhaps become a slightly more productive member of society. Or so Baek Un Ha thought, believing her peaceful hunter life would just continue like that until her disciple approached her on a beautiful day. You want me to appear on your live stream? Song Ha stumbled over her words while trying to express her request. The viewers keep asking about my master constantly. I even made a bet, so please, just this once. Baek Un Ha didn't hold back, venting her frustration almost immediately. Of all things, you bet on that? Feeling her master's cold lack of interest, Song Ha immediately started throwing a tantrum. Just once? For the sake of your cute disciple's reputation. Baek Un Ha, short as she was grabbed and started roaring like a dinosaur let loose from its cage. Who are you calling cute? Don't touch me. It's so cheesy. Yet, a profound thought flickered through her mind at that very moment. So this is what it feels like to be famous, huh? Well, it was bound to happen sooner or later. After a moment of silence, Baek Un Ha awkwardly spoke up. Can everyone hear me? Is this thing even working? The viewers who had just joined Song Ha's stream commented excitedly. There's sound. The signal is back. When will Bae Ha appear? We want to see her with our own eyes. Meanwhile, the owner of the account was busy teaching her how to use the tech to get on camera properly. That's right, Master. Just keep talking into that. Suddenly, the signal returned, and Baek Un Ha sat there, greeting everyone timidly. Hello. Her striking appearance quickly made the viewers burst into laughter. What's with that bone mask? She's really tiny, isn't she? Take off the bone mask. Take off the bone mask. Take off the bone mask. Thanks for taking care of our useless streamer. Are you really Song Ha's disciple? Baek Un Ha read the last comment and went silent for a few seconds before responding. But I'm the master. That sincere reply gave the keyboard warriors a field day. At least put some brain power into the joke if you're going to lie. So exactly, when did you become her disciple? The sarcastic remarks made Baek Un Ha's blood boil to the point where she ripped off her cool mask. You guys, if I perform a soul-calling magic trick right now, will you believe me? The stream's comments did a complete 180. She took it off. Luckily, she didn't take too long to get used to streaming. Perhaps because the viewers were just people hidden behind screens. Just like in a game, the communication issues Baek Un Ha had worried about never happened. That's a carry. What are you guys talking about? I'm telling you, I did all the work. How old are you guys? 25? 27? Then you should call me Nuna, you brats. Song Ha watched the mostly positive comments scrolling by on the screen. She couldn't help but sigh in relief, thinking, I never expected her personality to be like this. The viewers seem to love it, and this is the first time I've seen my master this lively. As long as she doesn't accidentally let anything slip, we'll be fine. Her calm emotions quickly vanished when Baek Un Ha asked, confused, Jackson? Who's that? While the viewers excitedly teased her, a hunter who doesn't know Jackson? There's this famous troublemaker named Jackson, Baek Un Ha chatted leisurely, ignoring the sound of Song Ha rushing behind her. I don't know him. Never heard of that nobody. If we fought, obviously I'd win. She quickly turned off the live stream. That left Baek Un Ha confused. What? Why did the connection cut out all of a sudden? Song Ha looked her directly in the eyes and yelled, Master, do you have any idea who you just angered? Baek Un Ha frowned, realizing her lack of information. What? That Jackson guy? Someone asked if I could beat him, so I answered. What's the big deal? You scare the hell out of me. Baek Un Ha rambled, clearly panicking. I don't know. My streaming career might be over. In just a short time, the internet was full of sensational headlines. Song Ha's legendary live stream from yesterday hadn't just attracted a lot of attention from passers-by and fans alike. This girl is hilarious, the one claiming to be the master. The stream was going well until it exploded yesterday. There were those who took the opportunity to stir the pot regarding everyone involved. New hunter Baek Un Ha targets Jackson. Rising hunter Baek Un Ha points her spear at Jackson. The breaking news quickly reached the person who needed to see it. Jackson read the news and couldn't help but take a sharp drag from his cigarette. As he exhaled, he muttered, What the hell is this? Jackson, an A-rank hunter from the US. Even as a rookie, he was called the rising star of the hunter world. He was someone who climbed to the top ranks in the blink of an eye. Living up to his title as a tireless gladiator, Jackson's signature style was an exhilarating combat approach where he would get hyped up even while injured and fight until his very last breath. His straightforward and refreshing attitude was cheered on by many, but on the other hand, that same bluntness was sometimes criticized as being blatantly rude, like right now, as Jackson was invited to a talk show following Baek Un Ha's accidental slip of the tongue. You mean those soul collar mages? Personally, I don't really like them. If things go wrong, they even use the corpses of their own comrades as puppets. You know, isn't that incredibly dark and completely unsettling? Ji-hun, wanting to push Jackson for the show, asked a sharp question. Do those comments relate to the foreign hunter you mentioned online a few days ago? He didn't even think twice before expressing his feelings. In short, yes, that girl probably just made a mistake, but I hope they take this opportunity to learn a lesson once and for all, that a true warrior shouldn't hide but should step forward and fight head-on. I don't sense any noble will in her methods. Song Ha, watching the challenge, irritably turned off the TV. Her face was filled with such murderous intent. It was as if she wanted to wipe someone off the face of the earth. Meanwhile, the two culprits, Un Ha and Ha, were kneeling on the floor in agony, begging for forgiveness in front of Seo Ha. The silence from the other side quickly made the two of them chime in together, sounding dejected. We're so sorry. However, Seo Ha wasn't about to let it slide so easily, and she caught her breath to scold her sister. So, what are you planning to do now, huh? And it's not just in this region. The rumors have spread all over the world. Un Ha, currently being punished, could only cry and try to justify herself. I didn't mean anything bad by it. Really? She didn't forget to lash out at the other person in the house, too. Ha, you're at fault here as well. With all your streaming experience, you should have been able to sense something was off and stopped her yourself. The sheer logic in her words made Ha burst into tears as well. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Un Ha went quiet, lost in thought for a long time before she tentatively asked, But is the situation really that serious? I know for a fact that my sister is genuinely clueless, not just pretending. Baek Seo Ha could only sigh as she explained, That's because you don't know much about Jackson. It's true that Jackson is incredibly talented as a hunter, but before he debuted as a hunter, he was a major player in the Underworld. And because he's been involved in so many different crimes, big and small, his hands are far from clean. And they say he's the type to hold a grudge forever. This bizarre remark left Ha completely stunned. Baek Seo Ha didn't pay any mind to her reaction and continued with her lecture. He once got into an argument with a colleague in the industry just over their favorite burger brand, and he went so far as to launch a bloody assault, crushing the guy so badly that he could never step foot in this industry again. The story had such a nonsensical opening and ending that Un Ha frowned in annoyance. That's so ridiculous it's hard to believe. At that very moment, Song Ha spoke up, feeling awkward. But if it only stopped at that level, doesn't that just mean he doesn't really care that much? Baek Seo Ha, having heard the simple thought, muttered irritably, if only that were the case. Un Ha unexpectedly revealed her thick-skinned nature, jumping in to go along with their line of conversation. Exactly. He surely wouldn't go to the trouble of traveling all the way to this remote place just to harm us, right? Usually, when someone says that, something is bound to happen. Only a short time later, Un Ha suddenly noticed her phone vibrating incessantly. She picked it up, confused, to check the notifications. What's going on? Who keeps calling me like this? A piece of content hit her eyes, leaving her so shocked she forgot to breathe. Seeing that she had 10 unread messages was enough to send someone who spent all day at home, like her, into a state of total shock. What is this? Why are there so many spam messages? Before that, a series of tabloid rumors simultaneously flooded social media. The famous streamer, Song Ha? Is she really a notorious manipulator who toys with people's feelings? According to an anonymous report, Hunter Song Ha caught cheating in Hunter ranking measurements. Stats registered during her early days as a rookie compared to now. B-rank Hunter and streamer Song Ha caught up in school violence controversy. Testimonies from former middle school classmates. Her reputation is rock bottom. As the audience began to show their tendency to blow with the wind, I didn't expect you to be that kind of person. So disappointed. I'm unsubscribing. Explain yourself. Truly at the bottom of society. Ha hurriedly opened a live stream to try and defend herself. No, that's not it. I've never done anything like that. The problem was, she hadn't even said 3 sentences before a giant notification from the platform appeared. This stream has been suspended due to a violation of platform guidelines. Song Ha tearfully called Un Ha to pour out her heart. I'm being framed. Do I look like the type of person who would toy with people's feelings, cheat on stats, and go around hitting people? As soon as her hesitant comment was thrown out there, I'm not so sure about that either. Ha's pent-up frustration had shifted from social media directly onto her. You should be comforting me at a time like this, Master. Un Ha didn't know what else to say besides revealing her own situation. I'm about to go insane over here too. For the past few days, spam messages haven't stopped coming in. Her computer screen just emitted the system sound. Game over. Dungeon cleared. She smashed the table and screamed like a maniac. No. Who the hell is this jerk? Why did he jump in halfway and snatch all the rewards for himself? Since he wasn't even in the party, it made Ha jump, causing her to forget her own sobbing. Are you getting sabotaged in the game again? Could it be that Jackson is pulling the strings from behind the scenes to make all of this happen? As soon as Un Ha heard those words, she started breaking out into a cold sweat. Jackson. Why does he have to be so petty? And the situation finally crossed the line that Baek Un Ha should never have allowed to be crossed. Notice, your account has been permanently restricted due to a violation of internal investigation regulations. Reason: detected use of illegal programs. She stared blankly at the cold text on the computer screen. With a heart gone numb, Un Ha's phone kept ringing with new notifications. You have 10 unread messages. Message from missed call. Be careful what you say. That damn message was the final straw that triggered Un Ha's rage. She slumped her head down and laughed like a madman, before releasing the insane laughter of someone who had been swallowed by hatred. After a while, Un Ha sighed with satisfaction after venting her frustrations. That's right. I'm going to deal with that jerk. She then recounted her crazy plan to Ha while they were sitting at a cafe. You're planning to go all the way to America? That's insane. The staff's confused look made her hurriedly cover her mouth. Song Ha awkwardly put on her mask to hide her identity, which was currently being dragged through the mud everywhere. It's true that we've gotten into some annoying trouble, but even so, there's no reason to recklessly go all the way to America to find him. Only then did Un Ha lower her voice to share. He locked it. When she asked back, confused, out of instinct, what? She quickly repeated what she had just said. I'm telling you, he locked it. Before exploding with emotion like a pop balloon, that jerk even locked my diamond account. Do I need a bigger reason than that? Huh? That unconscious action from her opponent made Ha worry so much that she started breaking into a cold sweat. Please, keep your voice down. I'll try to ask an acquaintance to resolve it. They work in a related field, so if I explain the situation, Un Ha, having heard her proposed solution, laughed mockingly. Do you think just fixing the mistakes is enough? He needs to pay for what he's done, right? That's it. Turning him into a zombie is the perfect punishment. Seeing such a terrifying expression on her master's face for the first time, Ha felt a wave of panic wash over her. She was terrified. Yet, she still managed to compose herself enough to offer her opinion. But even if we go looking for him, how are we supposed to find him in such a vast place like America? Besides, people like us surely lack the skills to gather intelligence. Un Ha stood frozen for a few seconds before giving an answer that couldn't have been more unbelievable. There's always a way. I have a second disciple. You'll find her helpful in times like these. I don't know how much time had passed. Helena was sitting alone by the warm fireplace in her house. She spoke slowly after hearing about the chaotic situation. Currently, I know Jackson very well. His trail is so prominent that there are always one or two rumors floating around about him. So, you just need a way to meet him. Un Ha controlled his chibi zombie puppet to reply to her. That's right. Surely you don't mean to say you can't fulfill a request from your master and senior sister, do you? Upon hearing this new information, Ha was completely shocked. The second disciple is Helena. You two know each other? Baek Un Ha didn't care about the other's anxious feelings and was busy reminding Helena. Since you are the second one, show proper respect to Song Ha. She looked at the cute appearance of the two creatures in front of her, who had excitedly joined in. I look forward to working with you, senior sister. But unexpectedly, that very action made Song Ha so scared that she waved her hands in constant refusal. Don't call me that. Helena suddenly spoke up about the old topic. Anyway, if you want to meet Jackson, instead of looking for him yourself, it would be better to lure him out. That statement naturally made those two novices jump in surprise. You don't need to travel such a long distance. I'll make Jackson crawl his way to South Korea myself. Is that even possible? She smiled leisurely and nodded. It's always possible. Jackson often crosses the border illegally to engage in illicit deals or human trafficking. If we cast some bait through the black market, he'll bite immediately. Hearing this for the first time, Un Ha and Ha shared the same thought. Is he really that shady? That exact statement ended Helena's mysterious conversation. Then, I will use a bit of my influence. In about 2 weeks, try going to the location I mentioned. This led to the incident at a warehouse located in a desolate spot as it is now. Someone slowly opened the rusty iron gate to step into the space inside. He spoke while looking at the person who had been waiting for him up ahead. Is that you, Jackson? Did you bring the item you promised? Meiji, who was holding a briefcase, turned around quickly upon hearing someone speaking to her. She quickly opened the briefcase to reveal the goods inside. Jackson just glanced at them, and his mouth began to comment gleefully. That is Black Desire herb. Very good. Unexpectedly, as soon as he finished speaking, he forced Meiji to the ground. Jackson tried to apply pressure to her white neck before speaking angrily. It seems I've been underestimated. I can feel a presence around here. Moreover, this Black Desire herb is fake. It's made from monster bones. Sorry, but I only trade in items made from the bones of those who died in the dungeon. As soon as Jackson exerted his power, Meiji's neck let out a crisp cracking sound. After disposing of her, he angrily picked up his money case and stood up. You rats hiding over there, come out now. Un Ha spoke up at the opponent's request. Not bad for an A-rank hunter. Pretty sharp, aren't you? Jackson scanned his eyes toward where the sound came from, his mouth unable to help but twitch instinctively. Who are you? Un Ha walked into the warehouse with Ha's support to speak in a cool manner. But what can we do here? The person who just walked in wasn't a person, but a zombie created by Helena. Looks just like a human, right? I taught her that. But it seems you didn't strike because you knew it was a zombie, did you? And it looks like this isn't the first or second time you've killed someone. Un Ha slowly activated the energy from his spirit-stabilizing ring while he was still busy talking to Jackson. Just skip this nonsense and get straight to the point. Didn't you have something you needed to find me for, old man? Jackson, having shaken off his confusion, couldn't help but ask. What is this? Are you acting under Helena's backing? Un Ha couldn't help but laugh. Backing me? Stop talking nonsense. You still don't realize what you've done wrong, do you? Un Ha suddenly launched an attack because his fury had overflowed. You deleted my game account. The surprise attack naturally left Jackson frozen for a few seconds before he hurriedly retreated backward. Yet, when that wave of mana subsided, Jackson uttered a sarcastic remark he had been holding back. I was wondering what all the fuss was about. Turns out it was just for a game account. You set up this whole grand spectacle just for something as pathetic as that? That very statement hurt Un Ha's pride so much that he fired a warning spell at his opponent. Watch your mouth. That wasn't just any ordinary account. You deleted my diamond tier account, the account I had to stay up all night to grind for. Jackson couldn't understand it at all, so he frustratedly threw the money case away. Hearing that made it even more ridiculous. Never thought a low-tier D rank would dare to act like this. He quickly summoned the sword and shield that had been with him all along. Jackson worked himself into a rage, letting a few chilling words hiss from his mouth. So, coming all this way was truly a waste of time. I'll have to take your lives to compensate for that. As soon as he mustered up some power, he immediately lunged toward his opponent. Un Ha, not afraid at all, charged forward as well. Don't interfere. Just keep watch and make sure that bastard doesn't escape in that direction. That relatively enthusiastic behavior left Song Ha looking bewildered. Yet, the two warriors collided with nothing but pure competitive drive. Jackson, sensing that the distance between them was just right, raised his sword. He easily slashed Un Ha, seemingly feeling that it still wasn't enough. Jackson continued to thrust a few more dangerous strikes, forcing her to stumble backward. The horrifying scene made Song Ha scream in panic, "Master." Meanwhile, Un Ha was still staring wide-eyed, coughing up blood in midair. Jackson was ecstatic because he had eliminated such a crafty brat. Unexpectedly, before the smile on his face could even fade, Un Ha's figure reverted to its true form as a straw substitute doll. High above, she watched the ecstatic look on his face and couldn't help but let out a mocking laugh. "What are you doing? You call yourself an A rank, yet you can't even see through a simple straw dummy? A rookie is just a rookie. After all, even if you are an A rank, you're still adorable, aren't you? So cute, I could just eat you up." Un Ha excitedly leaped down into the workshop yard to face his enemy head-on. But then again, with such poor intelligence, it's only natural you got tricked. If that's the case, want me to give you a little hint? I've been grinding dungeons like crazy for 2 weeks just to meet you, and I've climbed straight to C rank. And take a good look at the people you just took down. Jackson followed his opponent's suggestion without thinking. Is this a spider? That foolish look made Un Ha feel more delighted than ever. Do you like them? I prepared them just for you. Now, for the main event, summon Undead. As soon as Un Ha finished, a wave of potent death energy surged forth, gathering a swarm of spiders huddled together on the desolate ceiling. The eerie sight made Jackson panic and step back a few paces, as if that petty trick could stop them. He broke into a cold sweat, bewildered as he watched the spiders weave a giant cocoon around themselves. Suddenly, the massive cocoon crashed to the ground, a straight crack splitting its bizarre surface wide open, while Jackson tensed up, waiting for the creature inside to emerge. Penelope calmly spoke up as soon as she found her way out of the cramped cocoon. "It's been a while since you last summoned me, my lord." With her specially reinforced legs, Penelope, the predator of the Black Forest, officially arrived in this modern world. But isn't this place the B-zone? However, her serious, seductive demeanor quickly vanished when she saw Un Ha's new form. "Oh my goodness, why is my lord suddenly so cute?" Being hugged tightly, she shouted in surprise, wait a minute. This is not the time for this. Let me go." Penelope froze for a few seconds after hearing that small command, before glancing at Jackson, who was trying to suppress his fear in the distance. "I think I understand the current situation. I just need to fight that guy, right?" Un Ha looked at his ring and quickly gave the order. "We don't have much time. Finish him within 7 minutes." Having waited so long for this moment, Penelope responded seriously, "Your will is my command." She immediately exerted pressure on her enemy with just a single focused glare. Despite having been through many bloody ups and downs, Jackson couldn't stop the panic welling up inside him. What is this insane killing intent? How can a pathetic C-rank control such a high-level undead? My instincts are screaming that fighting this will be a massive headache. I really hate doing this. But facing the situation, Jackson lunged at Un Ha, catching the other off guard. He swung his sword at her in a desperate attempt to escape this place. Ha was so terrified she just closed her eyes and burst into tears. But Jackson suddenly froze mid-motion. Seeing his body tightly bound by the spirit chains, he roared in frustration. "What is this?" Watching Jackson struggle like a dying fish, Un Ha happily remarked, "Took the bait, didn't you? Gladiator arena, it's a skill that binds your soul to mine. Neither of us can leave this place until one of us dies. You know what a death match is, right? A death match." At this point, Jackson's hopes were shattered as he hissed from his throat, "You son of a..." He didn't even get to finish his sentence before Penelope attacked Jackson unexpectedly, causing Ha to flinch and scramble into a corner of the workshop. Jackson tried to find a way out by slicing off one of her legs. His competitive spirit flared, and he couldn't help but roar, "Useless trash, you piece of garbage." As Jackson attacked more frantically, Penelope simply stepped back, defending calmly. However, she didn't forget to deliver precise, stinging blows against Jackson. The duel dragged on, and Penelope laughed with excitement. Just as he raised his sword to block her legs before Jackson could do anything else, she puffed out her cheeks and spat a spray of poisonous silk at her opponent, forcing Jackson to scramble backward. The moment the poisoned silk hit the ground beneath his feet, it turned into a mist that drifted away in the wind. The relatively short struggle made Un Ha unable to resist offering praise. "You held out better than I thought. Must be thanks to the recovery effect of your tireless gladiator title, right?" Jackson was left panting, forced to exclaim at her deep knowledge. "You've got a good eye, don't you? Then you must realize you have absolutely no chance of winning, right? If we keep fighting like this, I'll be the one left standing in the end. Isn't that right?" Just as he said that, he vomited blood. Jackson looked at the pool of blood he'd spat out, panicked and helpless. While his opponent was still reeling in horror from his predicament, Un Ha smiled gently and explained, "I forgot to mention the most important part. These legs are packed with lethal poison. The rate at which the toxin spreads through your body will keep getting faster." Un Ha felt that time was passing faster than expected, so he calmly laid out his next plan. Since we're reaching the end, how about a quick market survey? A headless knight, a Dahan, or a death knight? Which one do you want me to turn you into? Upon hearing those words, Jackson couldn't help but laugh, a mad, obsessive, and prideful laugh that left not only Ha but even Un Ha stunned, feeling a sense of unease. Jackson bowed his head, laughing as he muttered, "Not bad, kid. This is the first time I've been pushed this hard, but I won't die so easily." Un Ha sensed something was wrong and frowned at his opponent. Jackson crouched down, channeling his inner energy outward. Call of the War God. His frail body was rapidly reinforced at lightning speed, causing the ground to shake continuously. Seeing that things were going south, Un Ha commanded Penelope, "He's using a berserker skill. Finish him now." Hearing the command, Jackson roared in fury. No way. He sprinted toward his opponent. Penelope, however, calmly used her powerful spider legs to shield herself. Unexpectedly, as Jackson dashed past her, all of her reinforced spider legs shattered completely. Having lost a hand and the limbs on her back, Penelope turned around in a rage. Strangely, she didn't see Jackson anywhere. Before Penelope could shake off the confusion, he excitedly launched a surprise attack from behind. Jackson pushed through the pain in his body, unleashing a flurry of attacks that left Penelope unable to counter. Being cornered made her incredibly frustrated. This is bad. If things keep going this way, I'll lose and the Lord will be killed before he's even poisoned. Can you increase the output? Un Ha asked, flustered when she heard the question. But this is already the maximum level. The unexpected answer left Penelope desperate. Good grief, have you become this weak? This isn't good. I have to fight in my true form. Un Ha noticed the situation was spiraling and quickly began casting a spell. Wait, what about the aftermath? Death energy surged from within her, instantly leaping onto Penelope. Her pupils quickly turned an eerie shade of black. Channeling power from her master, Penelope easily knocked Jackson away with overwhelming force. Taken aback by this turn of events, he was left confused. What the hell is this? Jackson stared in shock as Penelope's body underwent a grotesque transformation. New, powerful spider-like legs sprouted, granting her greater agility than before. The nightmarish sight left the hunter-turned-criminal pale with fear. Penelope's enhanced physique shocked the S-rank hunter. Damn it. But the very next second, he steeled himself, boosting his own morale. That's more like it. At least now it'll be worth the swing. As Penelope controlled one of her legs to strike, Jackson roared, charging into battle. Penelope didn't even blink at his fierce demeanor, simply smashing a spider leg right into his face. A simple strike was enough to send Jackson flying all the way to the factory wall in the distance. Even so, he refused to give up, unexpectedly regaining his spirit and lunging back at her. Unfortunately, Jackson's free fall was cut short when she suddenly conjured a massive web. She wrapped his hulking frame tightly in that sturdy net. No matter how much he struggled, it didn't even tear. Just as Penelope lifted her opponent, Song Ha, fueled by survival instincts, hoisted Un Ha onto her shoulder and fled to a safe distance. Penelope used the momentum to hurl Jackson away, then casually destroyed the rest of the webbing. The fight wasn't over yet. He pivoted and whipped his sword around. Jackson quickly changed direction, diving straight at Penelope's head with fury surging through him. Die. A few seconds later, his wish remained unfulfilled. He only managed to slash one of the spider legs on her back. A look of contempt flashed across Penelope's face on this tense battlefield. Jackson was so enraged he gritted his teeth, pouring more power into his swing. Only then did his blade manage to create a small crack on her thick spider leg. For a brief second, the point of impact between the two opponents erupted as they both poured their full power into the clash. A massive explosion followed, shaking the entire factory space until it was choked with thick dust and smoke. A few minutes later, aside from the cocoon Penelope had broken out of, the rest of the factory was practically junk. Ha climbed out of the cocoon with Un Ha, still composed enough to chat. I'm still alive. Good thing this cocoon was so sturdy. While she was busy pondering, she thought, did that brat Penelope absorb the death energy herself? If I hadn't cut it off halfway, I would have died first. With that thought, Song Ha spoke to Un Ha over there. Amidst the dusty battlefield, the two of them witnessed Penelope in a completely tattered state. After that dangerous skirmish, she didn't hesitate to remind Un Ha that was really close this time. Next time, before summoning me, please level yourself up first. She didn't care about that and only asked one important thing. Where's Jackson? Penelope gently pointed her spider leg in a direction within the factory, making the two of them look at Jackson's utterly ruined figure. Realizing he was still alive, Un Ha scoffed. After causing all that chaos, he got what he deserved. Even though he had lost, he couldn't help but threaten them. After doing this, if you still hope to escape safely, wake up from your dream. Hades will hunt you down. No matter where you are in the world, he will chase you to the ends of hell. Un Ha couldn't hide her confusion at Jackson's strange words. Ha, what? What was that? Hey, you. Seeing her keep kicking his leg, Song Ha walked over. He's dead. Exhausted, Un Ha gave up and collapsed to the ground. How worrying. Whatever. I'm too tired now. Since the ring is off, I can't even stand up, but I still have things to do. Go somewhere further away and clean everything up. Hearing that command, Ha jumped in surprise. Under the dark night, she still naively asked, Un Ha, are you really going to do that? Sometime later, a news channel began broadcasting an important report. The American Hunter Association announced that their A-rank hunter, Jackson, had been missing for a week. According to reports, there were no records of him entering any dungeons, and local police along with the Hunter Association Baek Un Ha couldn't hide her surprise upon hearing the information. I knew something like this would happen one day. Wait, what's going on? Meanwhile, Un Ha, who knew the truth, feigned ignorance and looked at her phone. Who knew that the notification she just received would leave her stunned for a long while? Before rushing into the room to see the game login successful text on her computer, she happily shouted, Baek Un Ha is back. Thanks to Song Ha's help, her account had been restored. At the same time, Baek Un Ha returned to the path of a gaming addict. Simultaneously, Helena, having heard the brief report from Julia, gently nodded. I understand. So Jackson was indeed the master's student. You've worked hard this time, Julia. Go get some rest. Receiving the order, she bowed before vanishing into thin air. Yes, I will take my leave. As soon as she had privacy, Helena sank into deep thought. In the end, she got involved with Hades. Even if I warned her that she might get dragged into dangerous things, she probably wouldn't listen anyway. Even so, if this incident becomes the spark that sets things off, that dark organization will have no choice but to reveal its true face. 2 months later, at the Park siblings' apartment, CE just returned from a long business trip. Big sister, I'm home. She stood frozen, looking at the dark house, with only a sliver of light coming from Un's room. Inside that small space, she was busy clicking her mouse, her eyes glowing red, fixed intently on the computer screen. Baek Un Ha was trying to fire a barrage of shots in the game. When the game finally announced a victory, you've been promoted to Diamond rank, she excitedly let go of the mouse and shouted, Finally, I've restored my rank. Baek Un Ha didn't hesitate to make her presence known by grabbing Ha's head to vent her frustration through her mouth. Are you happy, sis? A moment later, she turned on the light and scolded Un Ha right in the messy room. I didn't say that just because you're resting. Lately, you haven't touched the meals I cook, always locking yourself in your room to play games. You've been like this ever since that 2-day dungeon raid with Ha. Did something happen back then? I'm really worried about you. Under her siblings' questioning gaze, she just awkwardly explained. Not really. It's just that on the day UN fought Jackson, she told C she was going dungeon clearing. At first, the rest was because Penelope had absorbed too much death energy, and it was meant to help Baek Un Ha recover from that. But playing games again after such a long time was just so much fun. Baek Un Ha, not getting a clear answer from her sister, cleared her throat and changed the subject. Right? Ha was asking how you've been lately. She said you didn't even bother to check her messages. That question jolted Un Ha into asking back, did you meet her recently? Only for Co Ha to nonchalantly share a bitter truth. You told me yourself that she's been going dungeon clearing with our guild lately. I even met Sung Min and the others. She thought painfully to herself, am I the only one who completely lost touch? Not stopping there, C nonchalantly shared another piece of sad news. Sung Min has already reached B rank. He got stronger so fast, it even shocked me. Baek Un Ha, upon hearing that, panicked and shouted, B rank already? Her brain suddenly signaled for her to quickly look up information online. Wait, that means. A piece of information popped up that left Ha stunned, her spirit sinking to the point where Co Ha felt awkward, not knowing what to do. A while later, Un Ha pointed painfully at the computer screen. They're calling me a has-been. The media is truly heartless. Baek Un Ha, despite wanting to comfort her, still had to speak the bitter truth. Well, it's true that you've been on a break for 2 whole months. Luckily, that remark didn't really register with Ha. I really have been too lazy. Maybe it's time to get back to work. It's rare for her sister to have such professional spirit. Co Ha felt slightly shocked and instinctively asked, really? Un Ha fell silent, thinking for a long time. Currently, I'm at C rank, level 29. It's really hard to level up now if I only do small dungeons like before. In that case, who knows how much time passed, but she was hit by Ha's direct verbal assault before she could even defend herself. Master, you're being too much? Why didn't you answer any of my messages? Her startled shriek forced her to lower her voice to their usual conversational tone. What's wrong? I thought you were used to me by now. Un Ha spoke awkwardly, regardless of how much she was trembling. No, it's just been so long that I haven't adapted yet. Ha had picked up Baek Un Ha's traits, so she bluntly pierced through the other's laziness. That's the consequence of locking yourself in your room playing games. So now you want to go into a bigger dungeon with me? Even a medium-sized dungeon requires at least 6 people. Are you seriously planning to go in like this? Un Ha didn't see it as a big deal and replied immediately. I can just find some random people and go. Song Ha immediately fired back angrily. No way. Last time you secretly formed a party without me, and then you got involved with those weirdos. Right? I can't trust any strangers you recruit. Master, that sentence made Un Ha painfully recall the old memory. That weakling, she looked reliable, didn't she? She knew perfectly well she was weak, but she still tried to salvage some of her pride. I won't recruit people like that anymore. Obviously, I will recruit people I know well. When Ha expressed her concern, do you even know anyone else in this country besides me? Baek Un Ha muttered repeatedly while typing on her phone. What do you take me for? If I try, I can still find people, you know? She looked at Un Ha's excited face and spoke skeptically. Don't tell me it's Sung Min. He must be very busy. A lot of places are inviting him lately. Just as Ha thought, she had just texted Sung Min and saw the other party calling her back. Trying once wouldn't hurt. Unexpectedly, as soon as Un Ha picked up the phone by instinct, Sung Min enthusiastically rattled off. Un Ha, long time no see. Are you doing well? I just saw your message. Do you need members for a dungeon raid party? Her shy, continuous nodding made Song Ha sigh and mutter, Master, people can't see you nodding over the phone. Kim Sung Min heard that clear as day and excitedly extended an invitation. The Hanan Guild happens to be looking for mercenaries. They're recruiting many people from A rank to C rank. Wu Sun and So will be there too. Do you want to join? This news naturally made Un Ha overjoyed. Really? Then can we add one more person? That probing question was quickly read by Kim Sung Min. You're talking about Song Ha, right? Understood. I'll contact the Hanan Guild and add her name to the deployment list. His help made her heart leap with happiness. Yeah, having a famous friend really makes everything much easier. It's true that you shouldn't count your chickens before they hatch. Un Ha, who was confident just a moment ago, was now bewildered, with a runny nose in the cold space. She looked at the many people around and kept muttering, people here, and people over there too. The familiar voice quickly made the surrounding hunters turn and whisper, Is that turns out she's still active? Un Ha shouted irritably, Just how many people are here exactly? While So Yu awkwardly muttered, Un Ha Kim Sung Min calmly provided a specific number. 34 people in total. The other's precision only made her angrier than ever. That's not what I meant. I don't know anymore. I just shouted and now I feel dizzy. Un Ha's momentary collapse made Song Ha rush to support her. Master. But Kim Sung Min didn't see any issue with this and just spoke gently. Anyway, we're just a small scouting team, so it should be less pressure. Song Ha took the opportunity to go along with his idea. That's right. And when else would we ever get the chance to explore a dungeon this massive? The thought left her speechless before the noisy voice of Baek Un Ha reached everyone at the scene. Attention everyone, the Vanguard has confirmed that there are no abnormalities here. Since we are on a snowy field, please take precautions against the cold. We will set up a base camp here. Further instructions will be given through each team leader, so please follow them. He quickly lowered his voice to soothe Un Ha like a child. Let's go, Master. Since they were already here, she didn't really know what to do, so she just had to go along with the flow. And so, the completely unexpected sweep of the B4 rank Grand Dungeon began. Unlike mid-sized dungeons that could be cleared with about 10 people, Grand Dungeons are so vast that many people have to split up to search for the boss room. That's why everyone entered with the mindset of preparing for a long expedition. But contrary to everyone's expectations, the search dragged on endlessly. The harsh environment caused many injuries, and everyone became exhausted. Un Ha's sister, Un Ha, even caught a cold and kept sneezing. As the group continued to move, she voiced her question. How many days has it been already? She tried to cover her mouth so that the cold snow wouldn't get into her throat to answer more clearly. I know that even Grand Dungeons usually only take 10 days to finish. Fortunately, there was a level-headed Sohu who gave Un Ha a proper answer. Today was exactly the 10th day. She endured the biting wind hitting her face and grumbled in her head. Even though she was wearing the ring, being surrounded by this many people was starting to push her to her limits. I miss the summer outside so much. Suddenly, someone in the vanguard discovered something and yelled, Monster ahead. A stone boar? That's a B4 rank monster. While Sung Min was tensely giving orders, everyone held their formation. Un Ha couldn't stand the cold any longer and began summoning the undead. A giant ice demon heard that call and rose from beneath the thick layer of ice and snow. The monsters were stunned as the ground kept shaking violently. Before they could realize the danger, the giant ice demon quickly shattered the monster's formation. Kim Sung-min and the others saw it and immediately went into a defensive stance. This is the ice demon we hunted yesterday. Could it be? Un Ha. She didn't want to talk much about it and said in a trembling voice, "Let's quickly finish this and keep moving." Un Ha's giant ice demon gathered momentum, swinging its limbs to kick the monsters far away. The sight left the hunters behind in awe, muttering in amazement. Kim Sung-min was the first to regain his composure and spoke up. "Everyone is exhausted, so this actually works out well. If we scout this area using the giant ice demon." He had just said that when someone quickly spotted something wonderful. "Over there, where the giant ice demon just swept through, there's something there." That remark forced everyone to look at the lonely cave in the distance. The hunters quickly headed into the vast cave to avoid the bone-chilling cold. Baek Un Ha couldn't hide his surprise and muttered in a tone loud enough for everyone to hear, "It looks like this really is the boss room." Then he hurried to find Kim Sung-min to talk. "You've worked hard, Sung-min." No sooner had he been praised than he shook his head in denial. "No, I didn't do anything. We found it thanks to Un Ha." Hearing that for the first time, Baek Un Ha instinctively muttered, "Baek Un Ha." He looked at her frail figure lying on Song Ha's lap and muttered, "Finally, we can go home." The leader couldn't help but say a few words. "I've heard a lot of rumors about her skills, but seeing her constantly falling behind, I thought they were just rumors, so she really is a hunter worth keeping an eye on." Baek Un Ha quickly cleared his throat to confirm with Sung-min. "I see. Well, I'll thank her personally later." No sooner had he finished speaking than the space in the cave began to shake incessantly. Un Ha, who was preparing to lie around, had to scream. "What is that?" Everyone was on edge for a long time. Those standing closest to the gate in the cave caught a strange sound. This sound, is it a dragon? The bewildered question echoed, making the hunters feel unusually restless. Baek Un Ha quickly assigned tasks to the hunters. If it's a dragon-type boss monster, it will be very difficult to deal with. In the boss room, please arrange your formation according to roles rather than teams. A while later, Un Ha, following the others as they were split up, thought gloomily, "I want to go home so badly." Not knowing how much time had passed, Baek Un Ha stopped abruptly. He stared at the scene in front of him with a look of surprise. A giant python was watching them as if it had been waiting in this place for a long time. Without a word, it absorbed energy into its wide-open jaws. That sight made Sung-min and Min-wook, both of whom had plenty of combat experience, flinch. "A python? I've never seen a white one like this before." Only Baek Un Ha remained calm as he drew his sword and ordered them to prepare for battle. The python quickly activated its ice-type skill to release a massive amount of mana toward those fools. It silently stared at the ice block it had just created. Just as the thought of victory was about to leave its mind, Baek Un Ha slashed through that block of ice. He didn't wait a second before roaring to attack, while the mages were preparing powerful spells to attack the monster. The other necromancers hurriedly used the same summoning command for the undead. Everyone attacked the python together so that it couldn't even catch a breath. Only Un Ha stood back in the rear, observing this chaotic situation. She hugged her body to keep her temperature from dropping too much, thinking quietly. "Everyone is fighting quite well. The ring is still on cooldown. If I join in now, I might just get in their way." But didn't anyone notice that because they were busy fighting, the aura and mana radiating from this boss room, they didn't belong in the surrounding environment at all? It was as if this space had been shifted into another dimension. Just as Un Ha thought that, she saw Baek Un Ha in a tight spot. Song Ha's bone warrior quickly swung its fist, punching the python, causing it enough pain to spit Baek Un Ha out. The moment he regained his freedom, dissatisfaction surged in his eyes. That helped Baek Un Ha focus on slashing his sword around the python perfectly. Its massive body was quickly sliced into equal pieces that fell to the ground, allowing Baek Un Ha to finish it off properly. The serpent's momentary death had everyone cheering in excitement. "We did it. Are you okay?" Guildmaster Baek Un Ha didn't forget to share the glory with his blood-sworn warrior. "Was that Song Ha's skeleton? If it weren't for that, I wouldn't have survived. Porters, please clear the battlefield. Let's get ready to move out." Kim Sung-min didn't have any objections to the suggestion, but he still spoke up with hesitation. "But where's the exit?" That question quickly had everyone else voicing their own concerns. Come to think of it, it should have appeared right after clearing the dungeon. "Do you mean what we just defeated wasn't the boss?" Un Ha looked at the whole scene, just tilting her head as she wondered to herself, "What's going on?" A mage expressed his concern. "No way, if a monster like that isn't the boss, then don't tell me that." Before he could finish his sentence, she quickly shouted, "Over there. That's a teleportation gate." The strange gate left everyone unable to take their eyes off it. Dong Hia quickly started heading toward it out of habit, which startled me. Was it hidden in such a remote place? But before he could take a few steps, Baek Un Ha pushed him aside. Wait. When Dong Hyuk confusingly asked, "Why did you suddenly do that?" he frowned, showing his seriousness. "Look at this closely. I can feel mana radiating from inside. This isn't a teleportation gate to go home, it's a gate to go deeper." Un Ha stood still, listening to the murmurs of the Hunters' Guild. That's impossible. Does that mean there's a dungeon inside a dungeon? She just frowned, letting out a brief thought. Just as I suspected, a second entrance appeared instead of an exit. Facing this unprecedented situation, the Hanan Guild and the team leaders began discussing what to do. Starting with Baek Un Ha, they noted, "We only have enough supplies left for 4 more days. If it's a large dungeon, the chances of clearing it are extremely low." When Dong Hyuk nervously voiced his concerns, "Then, since we've already wiped out all the dangerous monsters, should we just wait for a dungeon break to happen?" Kim Sung-min immediately shook his head, muttering, "I don't think that's feasible. A dungeon this large would take another 2 weeks before a collapse occurs. And if the teleportation gate collapses first, it'll be much more dangerous." Baek Un Ha heard his rational analysis and couldn't help but sigh. "So, in the end, we have no choice but to push forward. All right then, let's go inside. As long as it's not another large dungeon, we'll be able to manage. Everyone pay attention." After regrouping, we're heading into the gate. Baek Un Ha's loud announcement made Un Ha's face turn pale. "Are we really going in there?" Baek Un Ha immediately proved why he was the guildmaster by stepping into the dungeon gate first. "Is everyone ready? Then let's go." The sound of everyone's hurried footsteps echoed through the cave for a long time, making Un Ha follow them despite her hesitation. However, a strange type of energy left her stunned. Un Ha broke out in a cold sweat, trying to alleviate the tension in her heart. Damn it, this place is overflowing with death energy instead of mana. Just as she thought that, someone else couldn't hide their shock and spoke up. "What is this?" So Un and Wu tried to keep their voices as low as possible to express their thoughts. "It's hard to breathe. It's all dry bones here. Is this an undead dungeon?" When Dong Hyuk turned around to remind the hunters, "Everyone be careful." That careless action caused him to be pierced through the chest by a headless knight in the dungeon. While Min Wook was still wide-eyed in shock at the sight, Dong Hyuk and Baek Un Ha hurriedly drew their swords while cursing out of habit. "Damn it." He hurriedly slashed through the monster to take it down immediately. Thanks to that quick action, the evil horse-like creature panicked and ran away. After dealing with the immediate threat, Baek Un Ha turned around and asked, "Where's Dong Hyuk?" Min Wook gently lifted him up and reported with a heavy heart. He stopped breathing. The horrifying sight gave Song Ha goosebumps. "Master, what was that?" Un Ha quickly provided a concise answer in a cold voice. "In a 5-rank horde. So this place must be at least rank A." Suddenly, an evil sound echoed throughout the space. "How interesting. I didn't expect so many guests to arrive." The mages all clutched their heads in pain. "What is this voice?" "My head." The sight left the physical-type hunters feeling completely confused. What's wrong with everyone? Un Ha watched Song Ha and the others frowning in agony, her mind remaining unusually clear. Telepathy through death energy, necromancers who can sense death energy can't keep their composure. Even so, this was nowhere near enough to affect her. Un Ha calmly used telepathy to reply, which startled the opponent and left him stunned for a long while. "Hey, who exactly are you?" This display immediately brought him a little joy, and he laughed out loud. "Turns out there's an interesting one here. Good, I like you." Un Ha stood frozen as she saw a bony hand reaching toward her. She watched with unusual excitement as the opponent paved a glowing red path. "Come here, I want to talk to you for a bit." A while later, who knows what Un Ha said, but the group followed her obediently. Only Baek Un Ha remained suspicious and asked a few more questions. "Un Ha, is it true that the boss is guiding us? Could this be another trap to ambush us?" Under the curious gazes of those behind her, she just spoke with her usual stammer. "I don't think so. Look, the monsters are leaving us alone. At least until we reach the boss room, they won't touch us." Un Ha remained calm, hiding her next thought. "The problem is, why did he call us here to talk?" Baek Un Ha walked while glancing at the bones pushed to the side of the road to probe further. "Then what about turning these bones into undead as a precaution? They seem like they would be a pretty useful source of power in the battle against the boss." Unfortunately, Un Ha didn't even look as she bluntly denied it. "No, those are all rotted bones. Even if we wasted death energy on those," she suddenly stopped mid-sentence. Un Ha slowly raised her hand, making those behind her turn to look in the direction she was pointing at. She didn't keep them waiting long and spoke timidly, right in front. Baek Un Ha understood and finished the second part of that interrupted sentence. "The door is standing open." That one sentence was all the hunters needed to surge into the room with a sudden, strange burst of momentum. Everyone braced themselves, wielding their familiar weapons. Facing them was an elite battalion of undead, waiting for the order to tear their opponents apart. The moment the room fell into an eerie silence, Gordon tapped his staff and spoke up. "You've all worked hard to make it this far. Welcome to my lair." He looked down at the small group, sneering as he spat out those final words. Humans. The moment Gordon showed off his superiority, it gave Un Ha enough information to analyze him. A high-level, sentient undead boss. A lich? She had just thought that when he continued. "The reason I summoned you here is to propose a deal." When Baek Un Ha expressed his confusion about a deal, Gordon quickly nodded in confirmation. "Yes, a very simple deal. If all of you become my subordinates, I will spare your lives, and I will let you enjoy absolute power under my command." Min Wook snapped instantly, yelling, "Stop talking nonsense. How is that any different from turning us into undead?" Gordon wasn't angered by the interruption. In fact, he was gracious enough to respond. "I didn't say I would turn you into undead. Not while your current minds remain intact. My mark will." Just as he said that, someone couldn't hold back and lunged at Gordon. It was Baek Un Ha. Wanting to end the conversation quickly, he unleashed a finishing blow at the lich. The old man growled in fury, and without waiting for another word, Baek Un Ha darted around to land behind the low-level skeletons. He hurriedly shouted orders to the hunters. "Everyone, take out the rest of the enemies." Before Baek Un Ha could even finish that sentence, Gordon let out a laugh that sent shivers down everyone's spines. "That's why I say you fools are all the same. Even when given a chance, you always throw it away with your own hands." Gordon leisurely bent down to pick up his own decapitated head. As soon as he reattached his head, his voice turned cold and sharp. "If I kill half of you, maybe you'll understand. Begin." Baek Un Ha saw the bone super soldier standing before him and felt a sudden sense of dread. Before he could even draw his sword, the soldier struck a horizontal blow across his body. Baek Un Ha's body was quickly sliced in two, just as he had done to Gordon earlier. Baek Un Ha's death was so swift that the remaining hunters turned pale with fear. Thanks to that relatively easy skirmish, the other undead began to torment the survivors, causing them to scream in despair. "Save me!" Un Ha, already terrified, found herself in the middle of the chaos, collapsing to the ground, trembling hopelessly. "No, if it stays this chaotic, my stomach." Suddenly, someone fleeing bumped into her, sending Un Ha tumbling forward right into the path of the bone super soldier's blade. Her body froze, a natural, human reaction to facing the Grim Reaper in real life. Just as the soldier swung its sword down, Ha's bone warrior threw a punch, knocking the soldier away instantly. Ha quickly asked with genuine concern, "Master, are you okay?" Only then did Un Ha regain some of her strength. Ha hurriedly patted her back and asked in desperation, "What do we do now? That lich is even turning our fallen comrades into undead. At this rate, it's only a matter of time before we're wiped out." Un Ha pulled herself up, gasping for air as she tried to think seriously. The current situation was clearly dire. Was there any way to break this deadlock? The ring suddenly glowing gave Un Ha a new spark of hope. There it is, the ring. She rushed toward the dangerous battlefield. "Hey, use the bone warrior to stall for time." Ha didn't understand why, but she nodded foolishly. Understood. At the same time, Gordon saw Ha's monster unleashing continuous attacks and couldn't help but comment, "That bone warrior is quite well made. Is that the work of the Necromancer who spoke to me?" He suddenly clamped his mouth shut, thinking, "No, that death energy is far too dense." Just as Gordon thought that, he saw Un Ha charging toward him. Unfortunately for her, Gordon's guard was already there to shove the enemy away. Gordon looked at Un Ha's weak appearance and couldn't help but mock her. Was that pathetic charge supposed to be your finishing move? If so, that's truly pitiful. Unexpectedly, Un Ha just smiled slyly while activating the ring's power. "The one who is pathetic is you. Did you not even recognize her, even though she came all this way?" She released a massive surge of death energy to envelop the cursed blade, summon the undead, and quickly unleash a powerful burst of magic directly at the bone super soldier. Meanwhile, Un Ha took the opportunity to create a circular barrier to set the stage for her duel with the boss. The bone super soldier was flooded with her immense death energy, and a split second later, its body began to change, leaving Gordon in a panic. "What?" The bone super soldier roared in terror as Un Ha slowly altered its body structure. Despite the lich's confused questioning, "What did you do?" A long moment passed, and Un Ha used the remains of the bone super soldier to summon her own elite warrior. At this very moment, Un Ha was finally able to smile and speak to the one she had just summoned. "So how is the air outside after all this time?" She excitedly introduced her to Gordon, making sure he would never forget the name, legendary hunter, Hua-in. Hua-in slowly braced her sword against the ground to push herself up. She didn't know how long it had been since she stood tall and felt the sun on her face like a real human being. While Hua-in was still looking up in a daze, Un Ha stammered as she spoke to her. Huan, have you come to your senses yet? I am the one who summoned you. When she asked in confusion, summoned. Un Ha understood what she meant and nodded in response. That's right. But as you can see, we're in a dungeon, and that thing behind you is causing us big trouble. So, hurry up. And as soon as she saw Huan ready to attack, Gordon screamed out in a panic. Damn it. Huan saw two headless knights riding beasts charging at her, and her combat instincts took over as she gripped her sword hilt. Huan only needed one swing to send his elite soldiers flying, leaving them critically wounded. The shockwave from that attack was powerful enough to force the survivors to scramble into a defensive stance just to keep from being blown away. Even Song Ha had to be protected by the Bloodbone warrior, or she would have been hit. A moment later, she tremblingly stood up. What just happened? The scene of desolation before her eyes left her completely shaken. No way! She wiped out the zombies with just a single blow. How could the master have summoned something like that? Un Ha couldn't hear Song Ha's exclamation, so he didn't hold back his own fear. I don't know what this thing is, he muttered. She handled everything herself before I could even give an order. It's terrifying. But the soul contract is clearly linked to me. I know I'm still weak, but does that mean Che Huan's will is really that strong? Suddenly, Kim Sung Min's warning shout echoed through the space. Un Ha, the portal hasn't appeared yet. That means the boss is still alive. As soon as those words were out, Gordon flared with power, revealing his location. Before Un Ha could say a word, Gordon stepped forward with his cane, his body tattered. I let my guard down, Gordon hissed. Only now can I smell the stench of my own kind wearing human skin. So that's why you're able to use such powerful necromancy. It never made sense for you to side with them from the beginning. Suddenly, Gordon unleashed death energy, incinerating the skeletons within the cavern. Under the bewildered stares of everyone around, Gordon slowly voiced his thoughts. I offer the souls of the dead and the undead as a sacrifice. Rise right here and right now. After the ritual ended, a new creature was revealed in the vast chamber. Gordon excitedly commanded it, Go, demonic tree. First, finish off the zombie holding that great sword. The creature quickly obeyed its master and slammed its hands into the ground. Che Huan crouched low to the ground to endure the continuous tremors. When the demonic tree began to lash out wildly to corner her, Che Huan hurriedly leaped onto the roof. The moment the monster spotted her position, Che Huan gathered her momentum and jumped onto its head. She quickly raised her sword, planning to take down the demonic tree with a single strike. But just as Che Huan was calculating the perfect angle for the kill, the demonic tree didn't just stand there. It lashed out. It swung its arm, sending Che Huan flying a long distance. The fact that she didn't return to the battlefield immediately left the survivors feeling utterly hopeless. Our last line of defense is gone, they thought. Contrarily, Gordon took the opportunity to smile with an air of superiority. Impressive. But that's as far as you go. Unfortunately for him, the protagonist's aura had only been active for a few seconds before Un Ha cleared his throat and commanded, I've played enough. Finish them. That command made everyone realize Che Huan hadn't been defeated. She frowned and channeled all her remaining inner energy to deliver a sword strike that sliced across the demonic tree. The crystal that kept it alive quickly fell out, causing the monster's body to collapse to the ground before Gordon's horrified eyes. Before Gordon could try to turn the tide, Un Ha stepped forward. Looks like it's finally over. Now, I have a few questions for you. Un Ha's cold, stern demeanor made Gordon snort in contempt. Over? Don't get cocky. Do you really think this is enough to take me down? I hate to disappoint you, but you can't kill me. I will rise again before you, time and time again. Un Ha didn't let him finish his monologue, blatantly cutting him off. A life vessel? What? Gordon asked, clearly flustered. Un Ha calmly exposed his secret. The thing hidden beneath the throne you're sitting on, that's your real body. The one holding your true soul, with a chain around its ankle, right? Every time you regenerate, you never leave that throne, and your body always grows back starting from the waist down. This accurate analysis left Gordon visibly panicked. How could a human possibly have figured that out? Un Ha didn't care to share his personal history. He only focused on what he needed. Enough games. You think this is the first time I've dealt with a big guy like you? All I needed to do was find the location of your vessel. Regardless, you have to answer my questions. As a monster, you must know something about the dungeons, right? Do these dungeons usually just appear all over the earth like this? Don't want to talk? Then die. Gordon saw Che Huan raise her sword and fearfully collapse to the ground. Wait, it's not that I don't want to answer. I can't. I've lost my memories. Un Ha didn't show a shred of mercy, pressing him even harder. Lost your memories? Then you don't have much value left to me. Forcing him to scream out to preserve his pathetic life, Gordon stammered. Wait, there is one thing I vaguely remember. I don't know if I pieced it together myself or heard it from someone else, But all of this is just a process, and we are still only at the very beginning. Un Ha frowned, muttering the key details. A process the beginning? He immediately began to deduce. I knew it. This guy definitely knows something. A split second later, Un Ha quickly began a short interrogation of the weak-willed creature. Perhaps. Now, tell me, what is your name? Gordon. He quickly raised his protective necklace and offered an option, his tone serious. Gordon, I'll give you a very generous choice. Listen carefully. 1. You give up your life and enter this catalyst. That way, you won't die, and you'll be able to come out with me. As Gordon broke out in a cold sweat, he asked, and the second choice? Un Ha chuckled softly, making his intent clear. Obviously, you just die. A monster that has slaughtered humans has no right to ask for more. Or should I just smash your life vessel and be done with it? His impatience made Gordon decide without a second thought, and he knelt to beg for his life. No, I will go with you. Finally hearing the right answer, Un Ha's mood improved, and he smiled calmly. See? Would it have been so hard to say that from the start? Soul extraction. The surviving hunters witnessed the whole scene in stunned silence as the portal appeared right after the soul entered Un Ha's protective necklace. The hunters rushed toward the portal to escape this bloody, desolate place. The portal? We're alive. This is a real portal, right? According to the report submitted to the association later, this high-ranked dungeon was confirmed as a double dungeon. Out of the 34 people sent in, only 11 survived, and 23 perished, including Guildmaster Han Nun and Baek Un Ha. The cost was far too high to celebrate the successful conquest. Hunter Association headquarters. A top-secret meeting was convened immediately after the tragic event concluded. First, it was the training dungeon those trainees conquered, and now, a gate inside a dungeon, a double dungeon. We have also received reports that other unusually special dungeons, like this, have appeared abroad. As Jin Chul expressed his concern, we may no longer be able to prepare for new dungeons the way we used to. The subordinate in the distance hurriedly nodded in agreement. We must ensure we acquire a combat force capable of matching them as soon as possible. However, those words didn't make Jin Chul feel any better, and he moved on to a different topic. Currently, what is the total number of S-rank hunters in South Korea? The director in charge of that matter quickly provided him with a full answer. Mage C. Mina, aside from pure courage, we only have a total of 3 fully certified S-rank hunters. Recently, the A-rank rookie Baek Un Ha has been booming with outstanding achievements. At this rate, she might reach S-rank. That familiar name fortunately helped ease Jin Chul's mood a little. Baek Un Ha, she can certainly become a vital asset. Even so, that still isn't enough to deal with what's coming next. Jin Chul suddenly held his forehead and muttered to himself due to the intense pressure of the situation. Hua-in. If only the first S-rank hunter were still alive. Meanwhile, the person he is looking for is clutching her head and screaming in the form of a zombie. Hua-in started panting and muttering viciously. Kill them. I have to kill every one of them. Who is he planning to kill? Making Un Ha, the one who summoned her, so terrified that he hid in the corner of his room, trembling and not daring to breathe. Yeah,